it's Tuesday evening. It's 8 o'clock. We'll just go 8 o'clock. Running a little bit late tonight. This is, of course, the Tuesday Clinic, and you are watching. So, yeah, over and over and over again at the Arsenal podcast, the Tuesday Clinic tonight. There's a lot to talk about, obviously. Not what we was expecting. If you watched the show last week, we were thinking of maybe getting 4 points from these two games. We ended up getting none at all. So lots and lots to talk about the other side of this. So it's the Tuesday Clinic. We've got Melvin with us. We've got a couple of other guests. They're running a bit late due to traffic issues because of the storm and stuff. So we'll start. Obviously, Melvin's here anyway, back again. How you doing, Melvin? You all right?
Yeah. Personally, I'm all right. Thanks. Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's about all we can hope for, I suppose, at the moment, really, isn't it? That's the best we can all hope for in the circumstances. It's not been a great week, not what we were expecting. And just as we say that, one of our guests has arrived. It's Adam. He's here finally. Got a bit of traffic issues, but he made it.
Get in there.
See ya.
How we doing, boys? Evening.
So.
You okay?
Yeah, all good. Well, as can be expected, I'm sure you've already had that discussion. It's not been a nice day today, has it?
Not really, no. It's not been a good week, actually, when you think about what's going on at Arsenal at the moment. It's probably, a reality check, perhaps a little bit for us that were maybe, or some of us that were maybe getting a little bit excited. We'd maybe pulled up the league and got ourselves to a pretty decent position. What I was going to do initially, what I did was I was going to break it down the two games individually, the Man United and the Everton games. But actually, in the end, what I thought I would do is we may as well just do them both together because there's so many similarities with the performances. It's almost like it was one game played twice in many ways. So we'll probably do it like that, actually. Obviously, last week on the show, we did look ahead to the two games, and we kind of, all of us were pretty optimistic that we were looking at perhaps 4 points as a sort of target that we thought we could get from these two games. And had we managed to do so, we would have been in the top four. But as it turned out, none of us really anticipated that we'd end up sitting here tonight looking back on two games and 0 points. I mean, it's almost it defies belief, actually, in many ways, that we've lost both of these games. Especially, we started pretty well against Man United, got the lead, and then completely went into our shells. Last night, slightly different. We didn't start the game particularly well. We didn't play particularly well in the first half, but we did get a goal. We went in front again. And again, we couldn't see it through. And this has been something that has been a recurring theme, hasn't it, this season? We're getting a goal and we're not getting the second goal and the third goal to kill teams off enough, are we? We've got away with it a few games. Ramsdale's made a few saves and got us over the line. When we play some decent teams recently, we've not been able to do that, and we've conceded some really, really poor goals. This is supposed to be a better Arsenal defence than we've seen for a number of years, and yet we're making basic errors that we've done for years and years with different players, and that's quite worrying. I mean, Melvin, what have you made of these last two games? I mean, especially the defensive side of our performance has been terrible, hasn't it? When, considering all this, the biggest kind of positive had been our defensive record, hadn't it, up until recently?
Well, it seems like the back four has been the same back four for quite a few games now. They played the last two games like they never played together before, which is so disappointing. Yeah. Just all of a sudden, everyone became nervous. Even our better players, people that you thought, he's all right. Even Gabriel last night, for example. He had a shocker, I thought. Absolute shocker. Ben White, I thought, against United was at fault for the first goal and never recovered. Mm-hmm. Tommy, I think, done all right-ish for two games. And the left backs, we had two different left backs. And I thought Tierney, for the first half, looked okay as well. And second half, he looked all right. But when the young kid come on at left back, he looked out of sorts. He looked like he'd lost everything that he'd learned and gone backwards. I mean, how can you be that bad in 20 minutes?
Yeah.
He'd never put a pair of boots on. So I don't know whether they exchanged him for another model. I don't know. But it was really discouraging. And it's basically 2 steps forward and 5 back, as far as I'm concerned. As you say, we were getting a bit of confidence. We're thinking, well, perhaps our little doubts were a bit premature. But I hate to say it, we were right in certain situations. And I hate to say it. And also, when you were watching the game last night, you knew they were going to win, Everton. Though it was 10 minutes to go, or 12 minutes to go, we were 1-0 up. You thought, we're not going to hold on. That's number one. And once they got their goal, you knew they were going to win. But, it was just like, I've seen you, I've been it, got the T-shirt, I've done it. It's Arsenal, remember? So we know where this is going. It's like reading one of those, love story books. You know, the ending, they're going to come together and it's going to be all right. Whoever it's a bit like that. You might as well read the last page first because you know what's going to happen. It's really a bit like that, and it's getting to a point that we are still a soft touch, and it is frightening that we can see it. We can see it week in, week out, month in, month out, year in, year out. We haven't got anyone with any grit there, any passion. People saying we're not getting certain things going our way. Yeah, I agree, but you've got to make them go your way. You've got to be in the ear of the referee sometimes. I mean, that left back yesterday, he should go to Brixton, I reckon. Not just a red card of what he done. It was disgraceful. He should go inside. On the street, if he did that, you'd go inside. And had we been in the refs here, I don't think we would have had 11 against 11. And you've got to blame the management and you've got to blame the players on the pitch. And people are having a go at A, the players, or B. I don't think it's B, Arteta, or A, the players. Everyone's in this together, right? They're in it together when we win, so they've got to be in it together when we lose. And it's no good picking one out. The easier route forward, perhaps, might be looking at the manager. And just very quickly about the manager, if I may.
Yeah.
Sometimes you hear about managers where the fans aren't quite happy about what's going on. And you hear the press are having a little go, or is he going to stay? Can he stay in his job? And things like that. And it balls up a little bit. And normally, 99 times out of 100, after a couple of weeks, that manager's gone, right?
Yeah.
This manager has been in the same situation, in my part, for 18 months. I haven't said I want him to go for 18 months. I'm saying the chat has been, can he survive? Can he survive?
Yeah.
Should he stay, right? The board have more faith in him. They've got more faith than George Michael, in my opinion. It's unbelievable. It really is. That it's gone on for 18 months, this. No other club in the world would do that. I'm not saying we should sack him, but I'm saying that these 18 months of constant, no other club would, whoever they are, would let this continue unless the owner, son, was in charge. Other than that, it would never happen again.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I mean, you've got to look at what's happened at Manchester United under Ollie, right? It was a similar situation, wasn't it? There was a lot of people were saying Ollie's needed to go for quite a long time. The results wasn't particularly consistent. They wasn't doing what they needed to do on the pitch, and he kind of kept his job for ages and ages when everybody was thinking he should have been sacked. And in the end, inevitably, it happened, didn't it? And that's the situation that they found themselves in. And now I agree, we're in that situation. Maybe, who knows how close we are to reaching that point at the board are. We don't know, do we? But we're certainly down that same route that Man United have just been on with Ollie. And it's a worry because I totally agree. Certainly for you think this time last year, we were in big trouble, wasn't we? We couldn't win a game. We couldn't score a goal. We were losing week after week. We were heading down towards the bottom end of the table. And, we're back in that same situation now, it seems. Nothing's changed. And, we've got a load of different new players come in and it's still the same. We're still getting the same results and the same performances. I mean, Adam, obviously these 2 games, I think more than anything, have maybe shown even people that have been really behind the project, if you want to call it that, are starting now. These last 2 games are starting to. I've seen people on Twitter that were big supporters of Arteta and wanted him to be able to see it through, and now starting to turn and say, actually, this isn't now working. I know you've been quite a supporter of Arteta overall. I mean, are you starting to maybe feel that the time now he's had enough time now to have started to improve things, and he hasn't been able to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think these past 2 games have been really telling for me, for the obvious reasons. I mean, we talked about it last week, but I thought about it this morning. Going into the games, I thought 6 points were possible. I thought 4 points were realistic. I thought 3 points were an absolute minimum. But to come away with nothing, that for me set my alarm bells off because,
sorry, sorry to interrupt, but to say what you've said and be 1-0 up in both games, if you'd have said to us last week, we're 1-0 up in both games, how'd you fancy think we'd do? You'd have gone, well, 6 points. Got to get 4, must get surely 6.
You just said 4. You said 4 minimum, wouldn't you? In those situations, being 1-0 up.
It's like I predicted. I thought we'd get 4 points out of this, and I wasn't that too worried about it. I thought 4 points, but the way that it's just happened has just been so deflating for me.
Yeah.
Like United, when the United game finished, we played well in parts of the United game, and the parts where we played well kind of give me a little bit of that kind of false hope, thinking United had one of those nights. Ronaldo was on song, new manager coming in. It was one of those kind of buoyant. The first goal we had was a bit fortunate, maybe. Even though it was a legitimate goal. Completely. I don't agree with anything else. It was a legitimate goal, but we didn't capitalise on that. We got a bit of luck, and we didn't capitalise on it. We sat back again, and it was the same last night. Like, obviously, I was watching the game and tuning into you as well, Rich, last night, and. The first half, awful football last night. Both teams were just terrible. Yeah. And when we went in 1-0 up at half time, I thought, right, this is actually a bit of luck that we need now. This is we don't deserve to be 1 ahead. Everton could have had that goal that was marginal offside. Then obviously they had another one. But I thought, now go in and say to them, look, we've got lucky boys, but we can't rely on luck. Let's go out there and let's push it. And I was expecting the second half, because of the poor performance in the first half, to kind of go out all guns blazing. And it was so tepid. Coming out the second half, and we were just inviting Everton on, and Everton have just not won a game in 8 matches. It's not exactly we were in form. And fair enough, the fans were getting behind them last night, but the fans got behind them because they could sense that we were there for the taking. We weren't imposing ourselves, we weren't pushing ourselves, and I found that so disappointing and so despondent. I'm thinking, if you can't push on when you're 1-0 up away from home, you're just inviting trouble. You're inviting that home team, and that's when the crowd get on it. And then we felt a bit we really did. There was only, for me last night, Xhaka was probably the only player who I felt had a half decent game. And considering that was his first game back after 2 months, he weren't great. Don't get me wrong, but he was one of the better performers there. Partey, I thought, was awful in both games.
Don't get me started on him.
Terrible. What's going on with him? And the defense is really worrying me because, like we mentioned earlier, defense has been our kind of cornerstone. Do you know what I mean? The last, after the first 3 games of the season, even though the attack wasn't working, the defense was. But it seems like once one loses their confidence, they all do as a unit. That's it. And the only kind of player who's still got that confidence is Ramsdale. He's the only player who's kind of has still got that confidence in himself. Even Tomiyasu, who I think's been pretty consistent, he was probably the better out the 4 in both games, but he still went to the level he has been. And I think that, they probably look to people like Ben White and Gabriel, and if one of them two's having an off night, it just seems to go through the whole team. The fact that, blimey, we can't rely on these boys tonight, they're having an off night, rather than say, well, we've got to pick up the slack, we've got to take it forward. No one else is doing that. And that's got to sit with the manager. I'm sorry, that has got to sit with the manager. That man management, to not have to say, a professional player shouldn't have to be told that anyway. But that's where a manager has to step in and has to say, look, lads, some of your mates having an off night. It happens. You need to pick up the slack. You need to do this. None of that. And I don't see that. And it just seems like once one of them go down, they all go down. And that's just so depressing to watch. And I mean, I don't know the answer, but it has. I wouldn't say I've been an Arteta's massive fan, but I will always support who's managing the club. That's always been my stance. I've never been the right manager for the job, but because he's in the job, I'll support him. But massive question marks for me now after those last 2 games completely. Whereas before, I was willing to give him that benefit of the doubt. But man management after those 2 games is questionable.
Just can I like to add also, when you're talking about that, when we go 1-0 up, we defend on the edge of our area, which is stupid, especially the United game. And it's as if in their minds, what's happened is we're 1-0 up, but man's been sent off and we've got 3 of our players injured. That's when you play like that. Because against United, I don't know if you noticed, we were so deep. All we could do was hit 50-yard balls to the halfway line, and no one was there because they're all on our penalty box. So it's just, I mean, the manager. If it's not I said it before about teams years ago when we played away at Swansea. The same thing happened when our right back with Chambers was getting slaughtered. In a game that we've all played football, if someone is getting slaughtered or the team's doing something you shouldn't do, you shout, "Get up!" Even in a pub team, come on, get up. If it's not the captain saying it, it's the centre half or whoever it is. Get up. If it's not the players, which it should be 90%, should be the manager. If it ain't the manager, something is wrong. You're just sitting back. We're watching it. I'm watching the game and seeing this ain't right. What you're doing? Why you keep doing it? You're going to get done. And also, United could afford to do what they liked against us because they knew we ain't going to attack. They knew they had nothing to defend against. So and that's so annoying. Pub teams don't do it. Why do we do it?
The thing is, I mean, we ain't scoring goals. Our attackers are not scoring goals. The goals we are scoring are coming from midfield generally or the wide players. And is that a factor? I'm thinking, is there no faith in our forwards that's why we're not playing it up? I mean, that's ridiculous if it is, but that's got me thinking now is the fact that, I like Lacazette, but he's never been a massive goal scoring threat. He's always been more of a support hold up player. And, and if Aubameyang's not scoring goals, no one is up front. So, we've been relying on Smith Rowe, on Saka, and last couple of games Odegaard. And is it a case that they've got no faith? Even the team have got no faith in the strikers, so they're trying to make it happen back there. And it's just what's going on?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, my feeling about that actually is when you look at Manchester City under Pep, they generally don't even play with a striker. All their goals come from their midfield, and I don't know whether Arteta is trying to adapt to our style to be like that. Well, we don't have the players to do it clearly, or I don't know if that's a factor. It seems to be. I mean, Russ is in the chat as well. He said, "Evening, lads, Eddie and Russ." He said he's still fuming. Yeah, we're all fuming still, as you can tell. He says Groundhog Day, in exactly the same position this time last season, 3 losses in 4 games. Yeah, exactly. We did mention that just before. Russ also says there, what's the game plan when we go 1-0 up, was what Melvin was just alluding to. It's certainly not finishing the game off. Well, no, it certainly isn't finishing the game off. And he also says there, controversial, maybe El Neni is a better option than Partey is right now. Yeah. I mean, you've got to say he's got a point because, as we said, Thomas Partey has been absolutely terrible. Terrible performance. One after the other is, you're thinking one time he's gonna fall into place and he'll have a decent game, but he seems to be getting worse every game, not better. And again, to me, as you both mentioned already, does that come back to the manager? Because how many players seem to be getting better under Arteta? Even the players that started off well have gone backwards. Tierney's another one. He's nowhere near the level he was. We've seen Thomas Partey, what he played like for Atletico Madrid. Now we've seen what he's doing for us. Aubameyang's clearly gone backwards under Arteta. Lacazette's not scoring goals at all under Arteta. He used to bang 15 a season, didn't he, before?
The only one you can really say is probably Smith Rowe, potentially Saka.
Yeah, but they're 2 young players that, and I think they're exceptional talents. And even them, are they, they look exceptional in our team, and they are doing well for England as well. But I don't know, could they be doing even better? Could they produce more under a different manager? This is the questions that I'm starting to ask. I mean, you was talking before, Adam, about, say, for example, Tomiyasu's maybe, and the defence in general, as maybe not quite looking as good. Is that not, though? Because we were playing Norwich and Burnley and Newcastle and teams that can't score, don't offer any sort of threat. And we look comfortable against those. Even then, Ramsdale was still making 4 or 5 saves a game. And now we're playing against teams that's got better attacking players. And we're not necessarily got worse defensively. We're just at the level that we are. We're not good enough. The players that we've got are not good enough. If you take Gabriel out of that defence, I honestly fear that we wouldn't win another game.
No, I definitely think that's a factor. I definitely think that confidence is higher when they're playing so-called lesser teams. I mean, even the sort of better teams we had beat this season, maybe Leicester and Spurs, we played them at a time where they weren't doing well. We caught them at a time when they weren't playing well. Well, you could say the same for Everton and Man U, but look what happened. But
exactly.
I do think that's the factor. I do think that, once they kind of see that they've got, more than the other opponents, confidence will naturally come up anyway. But that comes down to all levels of football. I remember when I used to play, Saturday and Sunday football, the first 5-10 minutes, if you notice that you've got more about you than the other team, you naturally, get like that. But it has the adverse effects as well for us. We can't pick ourselves up if we are seeing that the team's in huddle us a bit. We just capitulate against these teams. I mean, like, going back in the season, Man City away 5-0, complete capitulation. That's Man City. But I sort of see this as the same level as Man United at the moment. So, like you mentioned earlier, we're at the same kind of level of where the club is, of where our manager was. But we were giving them, I think, we were on Twitter, Melvin, and like you said, don't show them respect, Man United. We showed them too much respect again.
Yes.
And that's the thing. Like I was saying, don't show them any. Why? At the moment, they've not done anything the last 10 years to deserve that kind of respect that we gave them.
That was right, though, wasn't it? We showed them so much.
Completely. You're right, and that's the thing. Like we respected them way too much, and I don't know what for. It's not like they're the current champions of anything. Like, why are we giving them this level of respect? Like, on paper, they were worse off than us. They were like a few points below us, position below us. Like, what is it? Yes, it's Old Trafford, but that's hardly a fortress anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like, people are getting points off their left, right, and centre. I don't get the mentality. But again, the mentality's got to come from the manager. It really
we're talking about, I think, you're talking about, let's go back to the Everton game, though. Didn't Watford get 4 or 5 against them this season?
Watford got 5, yeah. Watford got 5, yeah.
You know what I mean? Come on. And also, just very quickly with Partey, he's very skillful. He's like a Rolls Royce, like I've said. But I never thought I'd say it, and I said it the last 2 games, most certainly against Everton. I never thought I'd say this. He is a liability. He's not just playing poorly. He gives away the ball in the wrong area. You're thinking, every time the ball comes to him, you're going, oh my God, a little bit the old Jacker, if you like, a little bit like that. But he's far worse than Jacker in that respect.
Yeah. I totally agree. 100%.
Going back to the centre forward, you're saying that Lacazette can hold up the ball well. He can, and I never thought I'd say this years ago, but Giroud could hold up the ball far better than Lacazette. Giroud could score a lot more goals than Lacazette. When we did the swap, we sold, we got 20 million for Giroud and we paid 45 for Lacazette. We thought, God, that's good because we've got a mobile centre forward now who can score goals. It's not really that mobile, to be honest with you. When you think Giroud couldn't move, he had a brain. Giroud, he knew how to move his body, and he used to get up to defenders. He used to drive them mad. In the air, obviously, he's much better, and he had something about him. I didn't appreciate it. Now he's gone, I do appreciate him.
No, you're right. I mean, I always liked Giroud, actually, because I knew he added something different at that time that we didn't have. And even more glaringly now, we need a player like that. What we could do with a player like Giroud to attack the ball as well. How many crosses do we go into the near post? Nobody attacks it. That was Giroud's speciality, wasn't it? Getting on the end of them sort of crosses.
I think you're right, though, Rich, in saying, is he trying to go down like the Pep route? Because we're being linked with certain strikers who are fitting the mold like Giroud, like Vajovic, like Calvin Lewin. They are that kind of hold up strikers. So is he now going with that route? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, possibly. We'll have to see. I mean, we've got another Marks in the house. Craig Marks, of course, as Melvin knows. He says, I don't think it's about respect. Seems to me it's more about the mentality of what the players are looking to do when on the ball. I say we scrap any player over 25, Lacazette, Partey, or any. Well, yeah, that wouldn't make a lot of negative impact on the team. Craig also says focus on, as a Tony Petchy says, in My Cousin Vinny, the Utes. the ones who actually have a future with us in the next 2 years. Yeah, I mean, we're kind of doing that in a way. It's not really quite working, is it? Nigel in the chat there says, good evening, chaps. It's a dreadful time to be a Gooner. It's not been a great week, that's for certain. Russ says, you still need experience. And so I totally agree. We maybe lack that experience, actually. You can't have 11 young players in the team, because what happens is when you do go behind and things go wrong, no one can change it on the pitch, and you do need 2 or 3 experienced players. But unfortunately, our experienced players have been letting us down.
Exactly. That's what I'm going to make. We have got experience, but they're not stepping up to the plate, are they?
No,
they're not. The youngsters to do it all for them.
Well, they're not leading, are they? This is a problem. I mean, Aubameyang's captain. I mean, what a waste of time that is. Lacazette's captain when Aubameyang's not in the team, like last night. He's not a captain either. Although he does work hard for the team, he's not a captain. He's not able to lift the players around him. Thomas Partey has been, as you rightly said, Melvin, a liability, if anything, when he's been playing. So he's not going to be lifting the players around him, because he even said himself, he gives himself a 4 out of 10. I think he's been quite generous with himself.
Yeah, very generous.
Yeah. So he's not the leader to lift us. You know what? The the defenders are too young still to maybe take on that responsibility. And it's, Xhaka's the only one, and he's been missing up until last night, and it was his first game back, and we couldn't expect miracles from him. So that's a big problem, actually. But what Craig said, the mentality thing, right? This isn't now. This mentality thing was with a completely different group of players, a completely different managers. Yeah. And but why has that not changed? If Arteta's this great manager that people say he is, this great coach he is, why hasn't he changed that mentality? He's been here 2 years. Surely that was one thing that needed to change. Don't change the players necessarily, but change the mentality at the club. And he's not done that. Now, is that because the problems are higher up than that? And it's been, these have been going on for years, possibly. But surely the players out on the pitch, you've either got a winning mentality or you haven't. And we haven't got it. The manager hasn't got it. Thierry Henry said, didn't he, a loser mentality at the club, right? And he's dead right. That's what we've got now. We've become a bunch of losers that don't. We accept a 4-0 defeat at Liverpool because it's Liverpool. Let's lose 4-0. It doesn't matter. We can't compete with Liverpool. Well, we should try to compete with Liverpool for 90 minutes. Certainly, maybe not over a season at the moment, but for 90 minutes, we should go and try and compete with them, surely. We shouldn't accept that it's Liverpool away, so let's just write that game off. We shouldn't accept that. We saw last night, Everton were terrible in that first half. Dreadful, right? They were a terrible team, and we were no better. And it's almost like that, Everton are 14th, 15th in the league, wherever they were. And that's pretty much where we are. We're on a par with a team like them. And they were dreadful last night. Man United wasn't particularly great against us. They wasn't great before we played them. And they beat us, and we're at their level. People saying, we can get in the top 4. We can challenge for West Ham. And no, we can't. No, we can't. I mean, I was saying before, when we were winning them games, I was cautious saying, look at the teams we've played. We played teams we should beat. And we were struggling to beat half of them, to be honest. We scraped 1-0 against most of them. And when we've come up against better teams, and even, as Adam rightly says, teams that aren't even that much better, we're losing games now. We're not even scraping the 1-0s that we were doing against Norwich and Watford and Newcastle. We kind of scraped that a little bit. So I don't know. There's fundamental things wrong with the club, and I'm not sure if it's just these players, because this mentality issue, and this is the thing I really want to talk about. I mean, Melvin, what do you think? Why do you think this mentality is what it is at Arsenal, and why do you think it's been consecutive teams that's been, different players, different managers now, 3 different managers that we've had, and it's the same mentality issues that we've had for 10 years or more, maybe, but 10 years certainly, I think. And where's it come from, and why is it so embedded in the club at the moment? How do we change it, and how does it become changed?
Well, there's only one constant, and that's the owners. But you can't blame the owners for the squad that the manager decides. No, you can't. Well, I mean, it seems like we're a very nice club. We like nice players. They've got nice haircuts, they've got a nice smile, and they can play a bit of football. It's nothing to do with that. I want to see ugly footballers that get stuck in. What I mean? Sometimes you need to battle. Last night was a battle. And we weren't up for it. We got bullied, I'm afraid. We got absolutely bullied. It's not the first time, and it won't be the last. I've seen it happen so many times with us. It's all right being the best football team in the world, which we ain't. Against you play an inferior club and you play football, and you can take a few hits and give a few hits back. But if you're just relying on football in the Premiership, you're not going to beat anybody, because they got all the tricks in the book and they know how to stop you. And you've got to actually go up to their level when it comes to toughness. Because if you don't, you'll get beat. You won't get anywhere. And that's where we are. We get to a point where we're winning or we're doing all right. We might nick a goal or so. And if we do, all of a sudden, they start hitting us. All of a sudden, we go back. Right, take the pressure off, go back. It's a mental thing, definitely a mental thing. They probably don't mean to do it. Each other go, well, you're going back, so I'm playing back as well. I've got to. There's no point in me playing up front by myself.
Sorry. You bang right there. Like, you say that it is a mental thing, I think. And again, playing football, it is a mental thing. If you ain't got it, you're never going to do it. Like you mentioned, when teams come up against us and they get stuck in, we take a step back. You remember the George Graham teams, like 1-0 to the Arsenal. When teams gave it to us, we went forward. We actually went, no, like, we are tougher than you. Like, whether they liked, we didn't have skillful team back then. We had a couple of flair players, but we had like attritional players back then who knew how to battle, who knew how to grind out results. They were professionals, and we need an element of that now. We really do. I'm not saying a team of them, but we need a core of those kind of players who will literally just hit it.
I'm not making any judgment on him. I've only seen him about 10, 12 times. But to me, and I'm not even going to go, he might be the best player this side of Mississippi for us. But when we bought Ben White, if you'd have offered me the other centre half at Brighton, with the captain, I know he's older.
Lewis Dunk, yeah.
Yeah.
Against Man United and Everton, you'd have fancied us defending those two 1-0 leads with him.
Yeah.
Because everyone would have thrown up, he'd have kicked it or headed it out. And there's a few defenders like that. We go for the pretty football touch as a centre half, and I'm fed up with that. You know, we had him 100% away with Koscielny because he had Mertesacker next to him, right? But I don't want these playful like shoot. What's that horrible that centre half we had? Skilacci.
Skilacci, yeah.
I mean, come on, what was all that about? I don't want a football centre half. I don't care if they want to play. I don't care. No. I just want to for us not to concede goals.
Or a Martin Adams, you know. So
I mean, you say that, and I totally 100% agree with you. Right? Everybody goes on about Ben White because he sometimes dribbles the ball out of defence, goes past a couple of players, and he looks nice and fancy, doesn't he? When he does it, he looks cool on the ball and he goes forward, and then he'll lose the ball. He's out of position, and we concede opportunities. And I agree with you. I don't want a defender who can play football. I want a defender who can defend. That's his job. You know, and if Ben White wants to play in midfield, then fine, play him in midfield and put a defender behind him. But I don't have defenders playing like midfielders. This seems to be a modern way of football, actually, doesn't it? It is quite a modern way of playing. And, you know, these so-called modern coaches, such as Pep, for example, want defenders who do that, don't they? It's a Pep thing in the Premier League, isn't it? All these central defenders, their goalkeeper, he wants to come out and play in midfield half the time.
Yeah, but you've also got Pep's got like Ruben Diaz who can do both.
Exactly, yeah. And that's what Arteta doesn't seem to understand. Yeah. You know, he would have been quite happy last season. He'd have probably been quite happy having David Luiz and Ben White as a centre-back partnership, both of whom can play football out from the back, but are absolutely no good in the physical one-on-one defending that you need. And, you know, that seems to be the way he wants to play, which is ridiculous, really. Ryan's in the chat. How do you, mate? Well, he says, right now for the therapy, indeed. It's not helping at the minute, but anyway. Craig says, how do we fix it? Well, this is the question. How do we fix it? This is the big question that we want the answer to. He says, look what happened when we brought in experienced winners with Willian and David Luiz. Quality needs to be the first priority, and experience leadership is a bonus. But I don't think it's a bonus. I think leadership and experience is massively vital, actually. But it's getting the right type of experience and leadership, isn't it, maybe? And that's where we've gone wrong. Ryan says, this is either going to help me move on from recent results or I'll be giving the Samaritans another phone call. Yeah, I think the Samaritans might be where we need to all go, actually. James in the chat. James, I've sent you the link, mate. It's just on the Twitter thing. You should be able to come on. He says, if I have a nice haircut, can I get a game here? Why not? I'm sure they wouldn't do any worse than half the others that we've got in a minute. And he says to Ryan there, the Samaritans has blocked my number after the last 2 games. Yeah, I think we've got them on speed dial at the minute, haven't we, all of us? Ryan says, yeah, sure, James. Why not? How are you up front? Well, I say you probably do more than strikers at the minute. James said, I can't run, but I can score a header from 5 yards. Well, there you go then. We'd have won the game last night if you'd been up there, James, wouldn't we? So there you go.
We've definitely got a point when Nketiah's header.
Yeah, well, it was 1-1 at the time, wasn't it? So we would have gone 2-1 up. We may have won that game. So Craig says, if we fight back when we get red cards, when they battle us, they don't even get a yellow. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, if we fight back, we get the cards. Yeah, you're right there. And there's more chance of the Tories getting trouble for a Christmas party than their player getting sent off. That's what she's asked. Yeah, you're probably right, actually. That seems to be how it is at the minute. But, we can't rely on things like that, I guess. We're not playing well enough, are we? Can you score a tapping on the goal line? Well, that's the question, isn't it? If we find a striker who can do that, we might be all right. And just speaking of the devil, he's here. There's James. If we can just bring him in. There you go. You doing, mate? You all right?
Hello. Sorry for the lateness. I'm here.
No
problem. Unlike Arsenal, I did show up. So
you have shown up. We thought you may have gone to the barbers. That might have been why you was late.
No, not yet.
Good to have you on anyway. Finally, I know
I appreciate it. Thank you
so
much.
On for a while, and it's good that you can finally come on actually, which is good. So yeah, hopefully you would have scored a header from 5 yards. I'm sure we all might have done a little bit better with that opportunity if we were given it. But anyway, there we go. So yeah, I mean, obviously, you've been listening to what we've been talking about, James, in the background before you come on. I mean, it is a mess, isn't it? Quite clearly, and it isn't a new mess, and that's the frustrating thing for me. We've got different players, as we said, and we've got different managers consecutively, and here we are still in the same position with the same loser mentality on the pitch. No leaders. We can't defend a lead. We can't kill teams off. We seem very negative in our approach, and this isn't just aimed at Arteta. He's there now, but this has been going on before. Why hasn't he changed any of this? Why?
So in terms of what's on the pitch, I think you can solely put that on him and you can somewhat put it on Edu that's above him. Because for me, I'm looking at what are you doing at them? You know, where are you, Edu, as a technical director or director, whatever way you want it, whatever his role's classed as. Where is he going to Mikel? You know, your job's on the line here. Yeah. Where's his, you know, willing to? This is a guy that won even more than Mikel won as a player at Arsenal, so he should know even more what it's like than what Mikel does. But you know, he seems to be quite content taking the money that he's getting and letting it carry on. And I think it stems from, sadly, when Arsene was there, and we obviously moved into the new stadium that we moved into. And I think now hindsight's a beautiful thing, but losing that game in Paris, if we'd have gone into that new ground being the champions of Europe, that would have still had somewhat of a hunger and a desire in Arsenal to carry on being what could have been a superpower at the time. Even with the likes of Chelsea and the others coming through, we could have ascended a bit more as well, I think, in our own. But we've just been, you know, for want of a better word, a stagnating giant for so long. And I am so tired of being so tired of where this club's going. It's literally getting to a stage now where it's draining. But I don't know what else you can do, because you're not going to oust these owners. No matter how hard you try, unless someone comes in with a bid that's just so hard to refuse for them. Or, you know, if the court case goes quite badly with this LA Rams business, he might be forced into a sale. And so the only thing you can do is look at changing the manager. That's the only way. I mean, Liverpool at the time, their fans weren't overly enthusiastic about the owners that they have now. But what did they do? They went, Christ alive, let's just punt on a class manager. Let's just go for it. And I've seen a lot of people compare Klopp to Arteta in terms of their. He got them into 2 finals in his first season. He got thumped by Unai Emery, but you know what he did? He learned from it. And now look at Liverpool. We got thumped by Unai Emery because we played a false 9 in a semi-final. He tried to be too clever. A bit like Pep did against Chelsea. He overthought it. Just go there and win. We should have battered Villarreal, and then we would have battered Man United in the final.
Well, you say that. I mean, we should have battered Man United last week, and we didn't.
Yes.
So
Under Ollie, I was well confident we'd have beat Man United within 90 minutes as well. We wouldn't have took them to pens. We'd have won that game if we got them. But it's just a complete and utter mess. And I mean, some of these senior players as well, some of them are going to the African Cup of Nations, and I know that they have to go early, I think, because they need to quarantine before they go over there. Send them now. Send them now. Because other than El Neni, who got a harsh one against how he played against, because he got picked, to play against Manchester United. Rest of them are terrible. I mean, Nicolas Pepe's face when Nketiah come on instead of him. I don't know if you saw the picture. He just was looking at Mikel as if to be like, I'm done. You know, I know I'm done, but I'm done with you. It wouldn't surprise me if he's like, don't even pick me on the bench. Don't even pick me on the bench. Like, you know, get my transfer. Not that he can go anywhere in January anyway, because he's at the. But it wouldn't surprise me if he's already going to him. So I'll go back to Lille or something. You know, I can't. Why bother?
I mean, you made a good point, actually, going back to obviously the move to the Emirates and the Champions League final. I actually maybe trace it back to David Dein leaving the club, because he was the one on the board that had the ambition to make Arsenal a great club, and it worked. Yeah. All our success came with David Dein in charge of things, and since he's gone, we've had a succession of absolute failures in that role, and maybe that's where it has come from, and maybe that's the change that we need. Yes, I believe we need a new manager for the team, definitely anyway, but maybe if the club really wants to get rid of this mentality that we seem to have got, this totally kind of accepting that we can't compete with Liverpool, accepting that we're not good enough, and being okay with it. We need someone behind the scenes at the club at board level who's going to not accept that and say, right, like Abramovich has done at Chelsea, he won't accept anything. He gets rid of a manager after they lose 2 games because he doesn't want to lose any games. We've got a board who don't care if we lose to Liverpool 4-0, don't care if we lose to Man City 5-0, because that doesn't matter, because we're not at that level yet. We can't compete with them, so let's not bother. That's maybe what needs to change, that whole mentality inside the club. And maybe Arteta he's learning on the job, so he's not going to be able to go to them and say, look, I want this, I need this, and this, that, and the other, because they're going to laugh at him and say, well, what have you done to deserve that? Nothing. You do what we tell you, and that's it, kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? And I feel that's maybe where the if we're going to change as a club, yes, we need a new manager. I don't think there's any doubt about that. We need new players in lots of positions, because there's no doubt about that either. But ultimately, I think we need someone on board level at the club who's going to not be prepared to put up with second best or third best or eighth best, and want to make Arsenal the best club in the world again, as David Dean did successfully all those years ago. That's what we need, someone like that. And if we can find someone like that, who knows? Is Daniel Ek the guy? We don't know, do we? We don't know what's going to happen with any of that. But they don't have to be the owners of the club. They just need to be on the board, and they need to, is it Edu's position that they need to take? Somebody that's got more drive and ambition for the club. Thierry Henry, what he spoke about after the Man United game, 100% I wanted him to be in the club just because he's got the right mentality that we're lacking. Patrick Vieira, another one who's got the mentality that we need at this club. Mikel Arteta is just, I don't even know. I don't know what he is, because he's not a manager. He can't manage. He's not a tactician. I honestly don't know what he is, but he fits in with the whole the state of the clubs at the moment. He fits in with that, because that's exactly we are. That's what we are as a club, aren't we? We are. Mikel Arteta is our manager, because that's where we are as a club.
He's cheap, Rich. He's $4 million a year. He's 4 million. He's 4 million. He's 4 million a year. That's the only thing to me that makes it think that they've not pulled the plug is because they're like, oh my god, we're gonna have to spend big on a new manager, and they don't want to do it. I mean, I'm not a Kroenke sympathiser by any means, but if I was them at the moment, I would be saying, you had full control. They come out and all said, Edu and Mikel. Even Edu said he's overwritten some of my decisions that I've wanted. He wanted the sub goalie that was at Barcelona, Neto, and the right back that ended up at Spurs. Is it Emerson Royale or something?
Emerson Royale, yeah, that's right.
But he went, no, I want Ramsdale and Tomiyasu. So he and I mean, Edu was the one who said to get Partey instead of Hussam Aouar last season, and Arteta swallowed that one and went for it. So, there are times where he's taking judgment off him and he's taking judgment off him, and vice versa. But I think now you've got to go, right, just look at the cost of everything. Are you going to, again in January, because you're going to have to buy a centre forward now. You can't wait till the summer. Lacazette last night, I don't know if he got told that the penalty box had the Omicron variant in it and he weren't allowed to go in there. But he didn't want to go anywhere near that penalty box last night whatsoever. I don't know if it's because he's looking at it going, someone, Barcelona, we've all seen what's happened with Aguero. He potentially might not never play again. They're looking at centre forwards, and they're probably going to look at the likes of Lacazette and go, okay, well, we're in dire financial situation, but we can afford him. And he'll go. He'll 100% go to Barcelona, because he probably can't believe that a club like that's going to come in for him. And it's one last pay. The next contract he signs is his last one.
Yeah.
So he's going to jump at what. So he's probably thinking, I'm not going to go full pelt for this lot, because they're not going to renew me in the summer. And if I get kicked now, I'm not going to get my big move in Jan.
I mean, it does seem. I suppose it's easy to look at players that are out of contract or coming up to be out of contract and accuse them. I don't think Lacazette's not trying. I think
no.
He's trying, and I thought last night he tried. He's just not he's not in the right position to score goals and for a centre forward. But is that him, or is that the manager? I mean, Melvin, do you think that that's the problem that we've got? Is that the manager isn't encouraging Lacazette or even Aubameyang to be making those runs, to get on the end of things? Because I think Adam pointed out before, our midfielders scoring all their goals lately, that the strikers aren't scoring at all. And that's unusual for an Arsenal team. It's unusual. If any team wants to be successful, unless you're Pep with all those great midfielders, they've got 500 good midfielders that can score goals. Every other team, you need your centre forward, your forwards to be scoring goals. Look at Liverpool; their forwards get all their goals, don't they? Between them, and that's how you do it. West Ham, their forwards get them goals, and that's what you need. Chelsea, I know they may be slightly different, but they've got a lot of forward players who do score goals. our forwards don't get in the position to score goals, do they? Let alone actually score them when the ball falls to them. It is the midfield, isn't it? Is that an Arteta issue rather than Lacazette's issue, for example, or Aubameyang's issue even?
I think with Lacazette, I think probably he plays so deep for a centre forward. It's unbelievable, isn't it? He plays so deep. He hasn't got the legs that once he gets the ball to give it and run into the box.
He used to, though. He used to get on the end of things, Melvin, didn't he?
He's gone, Richard. He's gone. He can't do that anymore. He's never been that type of athletic centre forward, has he? He's always been on the cut, just about managing to get his chest over the line type thing.
He can't play 90 minutes. He can't last.
No. He can't make that 20, 30 yard sprint. How many times the ball comes in, you're thinking, well, where is he then? He's on the halfway line, a cigarette. It's not right. And he's not a midfield player because he hasn't got. He can hold up a ball to a degree, but he hasn't got the skill to be a midfield player. If he went to another team, they would never play in midfield. They might play him up top to get off feed off scraps, but he's not doing that. All of our midfield are playing in front of him all the time. So he's a waste there. You either play him up top and say to him, do not come back within 40 yards of their goal, or you don't play him at all. Don't play him at all.
That's Arteta's issue, isn't it? That's Arteta's issue, though, isn't it, Melvin? That's not Lacazette's issue. That's Arteta's issue, isn't it?
Well, obviously, otherwise he'd get dropped, wouldn't he, if he kept doing it? The manager goes, if you don't listen to me, you're going to get dropped, mate. And he hasn't dropped him. So it must be Arteta. How he thinks that's going to win. I'll tell you something. We played against, I think it was West Brom away when Lacazette was superb. It worked. Yeah. And we can't keep doing the same thing that works once every 40 games. We seem to do that.
But again, Melvin, West Bromwich Albion were one of the worst teams in the Premier League last season, and we look good against some of the worst teams. I wonder why that might be. But we play anyone half decent, and we look very, very average and poor. So, and that's not just now. This has been last season was the same. The season before was the same. It's been a recurring theme, hasn't it? Really. And I mean, you want your centre forward to be in the penalty area. I agree. And too many times, Lacazette last night sometimes was on the edge of our penalty area at times. When we had the ball, it's like, what are you doing there? I was almost saying that. What are you doing there? Get yourself up the pitch. And then we get a breakaway down one of the wings, left wing sometimes with Tierney. He pulls the ball back to the near post. Who's there? Nobody, because Lacazette's on the halfway line, blowing out of his arse because he's been standing in our own penalty area 2 seconds before. It's like, it's just madness. And I don't blame the players for this at all, because the players will be carrying out the orders that the manager's telling them to. Now, what annoyed me last night, I mean, I don't know what you made of this, Adam. There was a lot of times in that first half in particular, when there was a break in play because there were players injured, the first thing Arteta did, he was calling the players over. Come on, he was coaching them on the sideline. Hang on a minute, you've had 3 or 4 days to prepare for this game. You've got half time to sort things out. Why every 5 minutes when the ball's gone out of play are you wanting to coach your players? Let them play. Let them play the game. And if it's not working, change it. Don't constantly coach them all the time. I mean, that was really annoying me last night. If I'd been at the game, I'd have been throwing things at him.
And I think like that, I've seen him do it a couple of times, but not to that extent like last night where he was doing it every single. And at first I thought, he just wants them to get some fluids. But I'm thinking, it's not exactly a warm day. It was like blowing a gale out there, weren't it? Like, that's not going to be a problem. Exactly. But for me, that says that he's just not confident with what he's telling the players that they understand. He's not confident with what he's saying is getting through to them, or what he's saying is too complicated to bring on board, because it can be such thing as talking too much. Like, see old terminology if you've got kids, keep it short and concise. Like, I coach boys football teams at like under 13 level. And one of the biggest things we always see, keep it short, concise, to the point, so they understand it. The minute you start talking too long, they forget. But I think that's the same with all levels. If you're trying to coach anyone, like there's only so much you can remember at one time, and especially like at that game where it's so fast paced. It's like you just said, let them get on with it. Give some trust in the players. And for me, that is him not trusting them. And if he's not trusting them, how can they trust him?
Also, 100%. Being the top quality footballers that they are, it should come naturally without thinking. It's like driving a car. You don't say, go first gear, put my foot on there and that. No. Because if someone does that, if you're driving a car and someone's in your ear, did you put your foot? You'll have a crash, mate. All right, you will definitely have a crash. And, he's got no confidence to let them play the game, and that's what he's bought them for. That's what they're in the team for. When the ball comes to these guys, as you say, it's split second. They ain't time to think, now, what did he tell me to do? I mean, no. These guys are good enough to get the ball and think before it comes to them what they're going to do, and do not think about what the manager's in your ear shouting.
Like you said, that's what you do on the training ground. That's what you do.
Exactly.
That's what you do at half time. It's like not during a match. Yeah, by all means, get fluids on board, etc., etc. That's it. If you've got one little bit of instruction that if you can see that one of your opposition players is causing trouble down one side, by all means, call one person or two people over. Keep an eye on Damari Gray. He's ripping shit out of your ass over there. That kind of thing. But not the whole team. Yeah, it was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. I thought
it's paralysis by analysis. That's what it is.
Yeah,
that's a good way of putting it. That's a very good way of putting it.
Yeah, but I mean, you saying about Lacazette, Melvin. If you watch the goal back, that's literally Odegaard gambling, knowing that he's not going to run there.
Yeah,
he's like, I'm going to do that because I know he isn't. And it's a really, really nice goal, and it felt good when it went in because of how bad the half was. But again, it's all because he knows that the player in front of him isn't going to do his job.
Yeah.
And I mean, yesterday you can see that for so many things. I mean, I'm an obsessive, so I like going on SofaScore and all of this and looking at all the numbers and the figures. And they had the heat maps, and I thought, well, I want to have a look at some of these. And Thomas Partey and Xhaka's heat maps, they're basically in that little zone where Ben White wants to be to do what Ben White's paid to do and ping his balls in, which, to be fair to him, he's not been quite bad at in a few games. But now that Xhaka's back in there and it all runs through him like how it used to be, you could see him yesterday. He's going to Thomas Partey, get out my way. Like he's literally, I've never heard Ben White be vocal. And I mean, this is with fans back and everything else. And you can hear him on the telly going to him, get out my way, like move, like literally shift your ass out my way. And then Xhaka's other as well. He's dipping in at left back again because he's covering in there for. But it's just so predictable. I mean, we've had the people, the journos and everything, call it the donut of shame and the horseshoe and the unmagic roundabout and everything. But unless you get a little bit of magic from a Smith Rowe or a Saka on the wing, like you did in the second half, and then this is the thing. Our strikers have got to be clinical because they're only going to get one or two chances a game at the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
That for me.
Yeah.
I keep hearing, once they go over the white line, it's the players, But I'm like, that all comes from their instructions. I'm sorry, it all goes back again at the manager's feet.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I think it definitely does. Mark in the chat there says, we really miss having a third option striker. When we had Giroud, we had someone who could be a target man. We've got no one now who can do it. Yeah, we mentioned Giroud a bit earlier. I totally agree. We do miss a player like that. And Mark says, Uber's 6'2", but has all the physical presence of a feather duster. That's true. He does. He's not a physical player at all. And none of the others are really. I mean, Lacazette is a little bit more physical, but he's never in the right places, as we've said. We've got a comment here. He says, I'm an Arsenal diehard fan from Kenya. Enough is enough. Arteta must be sacked now. Look at Manchester United after they sacked Ollie. Then Manchester United improved. Yeah, I mean, they have. Most clubs tend to get a bounce of a new manager. We'll see exactly how that works out. But Ollie had to be sacked at Man United. It was just a matter of when as opposed to if. And I do feel now we're in exactly the same position. It's when Arteta goes as opposed to if he goes, because I don't see we've had any improvements at all this season. And, we can go on a 10-game unbeaten run against 10 teams in the bottom half of the table and think we're doing really well. But ultimately, the reality is, as we've seen in the last few weeks, when we play teams that are slightly better than that, we can't compete. We're not good enough. And the tactics are wrong. The whole approach to the games is wrong. The game management is really, really poor, isn't it? We're going ahead in games and we can't. We seem to panic almost. We go ahead and it's like, what do we do now? I mean, I thought last night we scored a goal at the perfect time, just before half time. It's when every team wants to score a goal, because then it changes your whole mindset for the second half, doesn't it? That game could have been totally different. We should have been 1-0 down. Well, we were 1-0 down briefly, weren't we, just before it got disallowed, and then suddenly we've gone 1-0 up at half time. It's like, wow. That was a complete turnaround. You thought, okay, we'll come out the second half now. We can get control of this game, but we didn't. And
we're the only team, Richard. We're the only team that gets less confident when we score a goal. No other team would do that.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I don't understand. Just don't understand it. We should really score goals in the last minute if it's nil. We only got a chance of winning if we scored in the last minute, really. We shouldn't score early goals.
And unless we're playing against Norwich or Watford, where we can score about 65 minutes and we're able to hold on against them because they're not very good. But that's pretty much it, isn't it? When we play teams that have got attacking players who I mean, last night, Damari Gray, I mean, credit to him, I thought he was brilliant actually from start to finish in that game. But at no point did Arteta do anything to stop him getting the ball or doing anything to stop him from being a threat. I mean, most managers would have thought, well, at half time, we'd have looked at it and thought, okay, we're 1-0 up, but Damari Gray's a threat. We need to stop that. What did we do in the second half? Nothing. He was still a threat, and he still did exactly what he wanted to do. He was running past us like we wasn't there, and they were giving him the ball at every opportunity because they knew he was the threat. And we didn't stop that. We didn't stop the ball getting to him. We didn't put enough players around him to make it more difficult for him. I mean, the goal he scored was brilliant, but it was easy. We let him cut inside. He cut inside Tommy Asso. He cut inside Ben White. And it's obvious what he was going to do. He wanted to come on with his right foot, didn't he? You just got to stop him doing that. We knew that as watching it. Why don't the players know that? Why didn't Arteta or the coaching staff figure it out before?
Yeah, you could see it happening.
Of course you could. Yeah.
The play was building up. You knew exactly what was going to happen.
Yeah. And it was a good finish, to be fair. It's a great goal. But ultimately, we made it easy for him in the build-up to that by allowing him to do what he wanted to do, rather than, even give away a foul if you have to. You know what I mean? A couple of times, was it the first goal when there was a breakaway? And I think we could have stopped the breakaway early on by committing a foul inside the Everton half, and we didn't. And then they broke. I think it was the first goal, wasn't it? They ended up breaking away and scoring. It's like, well, we could have stopped that at the time. Yeah. And sometimes you've got to take a yellow card for the team, haven't you? Sometimes that's what you've got to do. Manage the game.
I mean, the Gray one, Xhaka, if he hadn't been booked earlier on for what he did, he probably would have kicked it. But he backed away from Gomez because he knew if I do it, I'm sent off. And then, some people are saying, well, take the red card, Granit, take the red card. But I'm like, if he come back and he's and how bad would Arteta's getting slaughtered now, rightfully so. How bad would Mikel have got slaughtered if they went, you've brought Granit Xhaka, look at that, his first game back and he's been sent off. It would have been a pile-on. It would have been a pile-on for him.
No, it would have been. No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I mean, Jack could not have got himself sent off last night. I don't think there's any way he could have done.
But one of the other two,
won us a point.
Yeah, one of the other two, like you said, they weren't on a yellow card, as far as I'm aware. I don't remember Tommy Asu or White being booked. So if I was one of them,
last minute of the game.
I mean, how many of them crunched us all game?
Yeah, exactly.
Just crunch.
What did they do? Every time Saka got the ball, they knew Saka was a threat, so they fouled him. That's what you've got to do. Let's say you manage a game. Let's say you win a game. Every time Damari Gray got the ball, I'll go on in, Damari. Just run past us. We don't care. You know what I mean? No one.
And that's again just how good that player is, because even with one leg, he still created one of our best chances in the game. I don't know how he stayed on the pitch. He ended up like Warhol. He ended up like Warhorse in the end. He got battered. They battered him that game. Yeah,
but he gets that quite a lot, doesn't he? Teams target him because he's the threat, isn't he? That's what you do.
Yeah.
You look at the threat.
We ain't got no players to give it back though. In the old days, if someone targets one of your players, you have a little word or you have a little tackle here and there. We've got none of that. Or you're in the ref's ears. Look, ref, blah, blah. None of that. And going back to Arteta's management of the tactics, I mean, Benitez got it dead right when he made his substitution, didn't he?
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely changed the game. Not that we were on top of Everton. We weren't 1-0 up. But all of a sudden, he gave that little extra edge and they made the most of it.
Well, he just knew Thomas Partey's having a stinker, press him.
Yeah.
It was obvious.
No, but you see, this is what good managers do. In-game management, they can see what needs changing and make changes to influence the game and change it in your favour. Arteta's never ever done that. I don't remember him ever doing that in any game since he's been there. 102 games, 105 games, whatever it is. I've never seen him do that. Make in-game changes that have turned it in our favour. He never does it. He never has done. And by now, if he was ever going to do it, he would have done already, wouldn't he? We've got a comment here from Ali Noor again, says, how come Lokonga was on the bench? Xhaka from no match fitness starts against Everton. Yeah, his first game back proves how important Arteta thinks of him. And Russ says, I heard a rumour that we owe Lille another 10 million if Pepe plays over 5 games. I don't know about that, but we'll see. And Ali Nouri says there, and let Qatari billionaire take over Kroenke out. Well, yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it? That would be an answer maybe, but we'll see. I think really that the problems are quite clear and obvious to me at the club. I think we've all touched on various different aspects of it in the last sort of hour or so, and I think that we know quite clearly that unless I don't think necessarily just changing a manager is going to make an awful lot of difference on its own. it's a start and it needs to happen. But I don't think, depending on who we get in, I suppose. But I think the problems are slightly higher up at the club, actually. And this mentality inside the club needs to change. And we need to get people in to change that as well, because changing a manager on its own won't necessarily make a difference. You've got to look at Tottenham, who have changed managers quite a lot in recent years. They've still got the same issues. Man United have had the same issue since Fergie went, as clubs with maybe owners that aren't the right people for the club, maybe. And it comes through when you don't have enough good people there that want to do the right thing and get the club moving. We've got another comment there from Manu that says Mike Dean must be barred from any Arsenal fixtures. I mean, overall, Mike Dean wasn't that bad last night. I know there was a red card thing, but VAR should be helping him on that, really. That's what VAR's for, isn't it? To pick these things up. That's not necessarily just.
I don't think we can blame Mike Dean for our performance last night.
No, we can't. Definitely not. I mean, that would be clutching at straws, wouldn't it? The big time to say, yes, it should have been a red card. I think we all understand that, and that could have changed the game. But ultimately, we didn't play well enough anyway. And we can't rely on referees to send players off or for decisions to go away. At the end, Everton scored 4 goals last night. They scored 4 goals, 4 good goals. And the other 2 that were disallowed were marginal, weren't they? Tiny little bit. Yes, they were the right decisions if you're looking at lines on the pitch. He was offside. But they scored 4 goals against us. And now Everton, who can't beat anybody, and Man United scored 3 against us. Liverpool scored 4 against us. This is a team that's supposed to be good at defending. I'm sorry. No, we're not. We're terrible at defending. We've got no midfield. We've got no strikers. And we've got a manager who constantly wants to micromanage all the players throughout the whole 90 minutes of the game. And he wonders why. He thinks it's chess. I'm sure he does. All the players have to be in the right position at any given moment in the game. And if they're not, then it falls apart. And it's like, what's happening is if we are playing chess, we haven't got a queen anymore because our queen's been taken away and we're losing all our other pieces, aren't we? We're just left with a load of pawns that can't do anything. I mean, that's the sort of situation that we're in. And to be honest with you, we could go on about this for the next 4 hours, actually. And all it would do is just depress us even more, wouldn't it? So why don't we make ourselves a bit more depressed by looking back? We always do a little archive section on this show, and I do like to go back sometimes a long way. But today I thought I would kind of try and cheer myself up a little bit by going back not that far. But the main reason why I wanted to go back to this season is because I wanted to kind of see, or maybe have a look at how much things have changed for the better or the worse since this season. Of course, it is 2017-2018, quite recent. Arsene Wenger's last season, of course, which is why I decided to pick it. The best thing about that season was that black away kit, actually, black and pink. What a fantastic kit that was, by the way. Absolutely magnificent. And, we had some players who actually wore it and looked the business in it. Giroud looked good in it. Ozil looked good in it. We had players that actually looked good in it, but played pretty well at times as well. And I know that wasn't a great season.
Giroud looked good in anything, though, didn't he?
Well, he did, to be fair. He did look good in anything, but, he did look good in that black kit, to be fair. So, but, that season, although obviously we didn't, it finished disappointingly. We finished 6th in the league, didn't we? We lost the semi-final of the Europa League. We shouldn't have lost that game, as we know. But also, as well, another thing that season, which I really wanted to focus on, was that in our home games that season, we scored the most goals in the entire history of the club, equal actually with 1934, I think it was. So we played great football. We scored a lot of goals that season. And, everybody was moaning about how terrible things were. And for me, tomorrow, I would go back to that season again on a loop rather than put up with what we've had the last 2 seasons, personally, because it was more enjoyable to watch. Yes, we didn't get anywhere, but we're not getting anywhere now. At least it was enjoyable to watch, and you get 4 free games, and you got excitement, and you got, we were beating teams 5-0. We played Huddersfield, bottom of the league, we hammered them 5-0. We didn't just scrape a 1-0 against them. We'd lose games as well. We lost 9 away games in a row or something stupid, whatever it was. But we scored a lot of goals. I mean, Melvin, obviously, there's a lot of, obviously, we've all got loads of memories that season because it was so recent. But really wanted to look at where we were at that time. Obviously, everybody wanted Wenger to go. It was perhaps overstayed his welcome, but he had to go. But have things really improved from that point to where we are now in those three years since? We've had, this is the second manager we've got. Have things really improved? Because I quite enjoyed that season in a strange way. Many of the games I enjoyed because they were exciting to watch.
Well, a couple of parallels. There was a few games we were 1-0 up away from home and then blew it against lesser teams. So that's the same. I hate to say this. Notts Forest beat us in the FA Cup.
Yeah, they did, yeah. Another reason why I picked it as well after the draw yesterday,
Yeah, I think, hold on a minute, I hope it's not parallel. Anyway, no, that season, it was Yeah, loads of goals, but there were some horrible games. Horrible games.
Oh yeah, it was horrible games as well.
The best game, I think, one of them was Liverpool at home when it was 3-3.
Yeah.
Free-flowing games. We matched them. We went toe to toe. I think was it 2-0 down? We went or something.
Yeah,
we went 3-2 up, and then we just couldn't hold on. But that was a terrific game. But we had some. I mean, the first couple of games, we had the Community Shield, and our first home game was Leicester, and Kolasinac looked like, oh, who's this player? Don't seem let him go. And then we woke up, didn't we? We were real Kolasinac stand up, and I'm afraid he has. But that 4-3, I mean, the first game home game, he scored 4 goals against Leicester. That was a very good game as well. We lost to. Did we get beaten in the FA Cup on Watford? No, we're not Forest. We did Watford.
Yeah, not Forest. Yeah. Watford was a couple. Watford was a year before. A couple of years before.
Sorry. Yeah. That was the year also that Eddie scored 2 goals against Norwich. Yeah, and everyone was going mad. Oh, this guy's unbelievable, So
that's right. Yeah.
We all woke up. Yeah. But we had a lot of people going in and out that season.
Yeah, we did.
Ober, Mkhitaryan. I mean, when they first made their debuts, I think they might have made their debuts at home game. We won 4-1 at home or something.
Against Everton, that was
4-1. I'm looking at Ober, I think, bloody hell, this guy's got some speed. He's direct. He's got all the touches. How are they going to mark him? Because he's not static. He's brilliant. He's moving around. And we've got Mkhitaryan who knows him, giving him the through balls. I mean, this might work again.
Yeah.
Where are we now? Yeah, Ober, Mkhitaryan. Who else are we getting? I've got Laka,
Kolasinac. Yeah.
And was it Mavro? He came in, but he never really got going. These are the ones we let go or went on loan, right? Sanogo, Chris Willock, Kamara, who the rumours we were trying to buy back for a lot of money. Sedgley, Gabriel, Giroud, Debussy, who I thought was unlucky. Debussy, he got injured.
Yeah, it was the injury. Yeah, he was unlucky.
And on loan we had, I think we had Gibbs went on loan. Walcott, did he go on loan? He must have. Coquelin went on loan.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. I mean, there's loads of movement. And for the next season, it wasn't really any different. It was like, Jenkinson went on loan, didn't he? I think he went on loan. So
well done.
So I don't think Campbell had a very good. I don't think he had a fair.
Let Donnell Mullen go on a free as well. Donnell Mullen or whatever his name is. He's now he's one of the best in Europe now, isn't he? Yeah.
Who's that?
Donnell Mullen, the Dutch boy. I think is he at Dortmund now?
Yeah, he went to PSV and then with Dortmund in the summer, didn't he?
Yeah. I think Adelaide Jerome Adelaide went somewhere, didn't he, as well?
When Adelaide went to France, didn't he? I think he went to France.
He went to Angers or whatever it was because we ended up playing a
good
game as a part of the deal, didn't he?
He scored, didn't he? I think he scored, didn't he, in that game? But it was a lot of. Obviously, that was a season of a lot of change anyway. Obviously, being Wenger's last season in the end, and a lot of movement, as you said, of players in and out. And it was a very inconsistent season on the pitch as well as a result of that. But I just found it more enjoyable to watch overall the football. And, I watch clips now of even the last few years of Arsene Wenger when everybody was moaning constantly, Wenger out. And that football was so much more enjoyable to watch. I actually don't like watching us play now because I think it's boring. And it used to be exciting, even though we lost games, particularly that season. As you said, there was a lot of really poor performances, especially away from home. I mean, Adam, what were your kind of thoughts, apart from the great kit we had, obviously, what were your kind of main thoughts about that season?
Well, I mean, I was looking at it earlier as well about the kind of team we had. I mean, the one thing I'd say straight away, and you touched on it, was the goal threat we had from multiple places in the pitch. Even the strikers we had, I think Aubameyang come in halfway through the season, didn't he? And we sold Giroud halfway through the season. But we still had Lacazette as a new signing, which obviously, was a different player than he was now. Welbeck, which for me, he never let us down. He was never the most dynamic, but he always gave you an option and he never let you down. We had Sanchez in that team still until the sort of January. And even though that was probably his worst 6 months, he was still contributing. We had Ozil, Ramsey from midfield was still banging in goals for fun. And like you just said, like the home games were great. Like a lot of fives there, a lot of threes. You knew you were going to get goals. I mean, it was... I agree. I mean, like, if I could swap those kind of performances for what we're getting in a moment, I would, definitely. I mean, we're always going to concede goals, but we concede goals now. What's the difference? You know,
exactly. Yeah, this is the point. Yeah,
and that's the thing. You look at the players that we had then, and have we really improved on the players that we've let go? No, probably not. I mean, they're a different type. They're younger, but they're not necessarily improvements. I mean, like. No. Also, you know, Xhaka was there. He got booked 10 times that season and a red card or so. So, you know, some things don't change.
He probably gets booked less now, then, actually, doesn't he? I think because he don't make as many tackles. Probably he's not allowed to, is he?
It's because he's been injured.
Well, yeah, that's true, actually. Yeah,
but no, I mean, like, yeah, for me, like, it was the team was exciting. Then it was. I mean, I remember when we did sign Aubameyang in that January. I thought, you know, it was kind of like we sold Giroud and signed Aubameyang, and I was like, well, I'm all right with that. And also it's because that was when we kind of let Sanchez go. But when we did get Aubameyang, I was thinking, actually, Sanchez don't want to be there. And at the time, I thought getting Mkhitaryan could have been a great offer, but that didn't really run out either. Yeah. But I always thought Mkhitaryan, especially when Aubameyang come in, because I'd watched them at Dortmund and how well they worked together. I thought, well, we're on to something here. You know, I was quite happy with that. And, never quite materialised, unfortunately, with Mkhitaryan. I don't ever think we found a position for him. I think that was the problem. No. He was a talented player, and I think he's still doing well for Roma, but we just never had the right position for him. You know, so that's probably our problem rather than his, I think. The fact that we couldn't get it.
No, I agree with it. Yeah, he's a great player. And he had some good moments for us as well, I thought, actually, especially early on in his Arsenal career. He looked really good, actually. I remember being really excited watching him. I mean, you're right what you said about, obviously, we lost Sanchez and got Aubameyang. And actually, Aubameyang, I thought at the time, he's going to score as many goals as Alexis, if not more. But ultimately, what we found is Alexis offered so much more than Aubameyang will ever be able to offer as a player, unfortunately. And although Aubameyang did match his goal output for certainly a year or 2 years when he first came, he didn't anywhere near match the impact in a game. I don't think if you add all Aubameyang's appearances together, the impact that he's had in all of them games put together wouldn't even match what Alexis did in one season. The impact that
Aubameyang scored 10 goals that second half of that first season. I mean, that's not bad for your first half a season. I mean, Sanchez had scored 8 that up until then as well. So, like you just said, though, Sanchez would give you the assists and more dynamic runs and much more an all-rounded player. I mean, like I love Sanchez. I will always like him for and the way he played. Whenever he got the ball, he could make something happen. That's the thing. Like we had a player like that now who could literally just grab a game by the scruff of the neck when you're down and can make something happen from nothing. That's the kind of player we really miss now.
Yeah, exactly. I always felt when Alexis played, we saw the team like that. If Alexis was in the team, you always felt we had a chance of getting a result. Even if the rest of them played rubbish and we let in goals here, right, left, you always thought we could get something out of the game because he would be able to produce something. And 9 times out of 10, he was able to do that, wasn't he? How many times did he get that? Especially that season, his last full season when we won the cup and he got so many goals, didn't he? Lifted us out of so many games when we were terrible, and he got a goal or two. And we won games, and that was the sort of player. And we don't have a player like that now who can do that, do we? We have a player who in spits and spots can make the odd little bit of magic happen, but not consistently every single game that he did. And as people might not have liked him necessarily, but I thought I loved him. As Russ says there, Alexis, the best player the last 10 years. I think he's one of the best players I've ever seen play for Arsenal. I've got to be honest. We've had a rich history. Yes, he's not up there with the Thierry Henrys and the Dennis Bergkamps and people like that, but he's certainly in the top 5 or 6 or 7 players I've ever seen play for Arsenal ever. I think he was a fantastic player. He's brilliant for us, and we've missed a player like that, as Adam rightly says. I mean, James, you must have a lot of sort of obviously good and bad memories of that season, I suppose. In the end, ultimately, maybe more bad memories because we blew that semi-final, didn't we? We should have won that game at home. We were all over them, weren't we? And we made a stupid mistake. They were down to 10 men as well, weren't they?
Yeah, I mean. Was that the Europa League run where was it Welbeck scored that really important goal against Lisbon? Was it Lisbon?
Yeah.
I remember at the time, like that goal. I remember thinking like we might win this because that goal was so massive. It gave me like sort of a bit like when he scored agagst Leicester in the league. It gave me that sort of this is such a lift. Like I can feel something. And I remember getting so upset mainly. Not just for footballing reasons about losing that semi-final to Atletico Madrid, but my ex-girlfriend that I was with at the time, she wanted me to go for a dinner when the final was going to be on. And I was like, I can't, because Arsenal are going to be in the final of the Europa. And the minute we lose, texts are flying in, her dad, all of them. Oh, guess you'll be coming for this dinner. I was like, shit, So yeah, that.
It was never going to last after that, was it, James?
No. They never do with me. I just end up annoying them. It's because I don't like. That's the thing. I won't love a woman as much as I love my football. So it's the way it is. It's the way it is. They can't accept it, sadly. But no, again, it's one of those where we didn't get the results we needed, but we were still entertaining. And I know that it's a results. Yeah. It is a results-based industry. I understand that totally. But at the same time, especially, me being the age I am and everything else, we were entertaining and we still won everything as well. Well, domestically, we didn't challenge any, but we won it in style. And at the moment, like you said, I don't want to go back to the previous conversation, but we're winning. But is it to the level of what we had before? No, it's not. No, it's not.
I mean, I think we've just got to really look, haven't we? In the last 3 seasons since Arsene Wenger went, the results haven't improved, and football's got worse. So I don't mind the odd scrappy 1-0. We used to do it under George Graham, and we sort of enjoyed it because we were competing for trophies, and the results overall were pretty good most of the time. So you don't mind that. And I would have swapped all those great exciting games in the last few years of Wenger for a load of 1-0 wins if we were going to challenge for the title or get in the top 4 and win trophies. I don't care. But what I don't want to see is boring 1-0 football when we're still losing loads of games in between and we're not progressing any further up the league. In fact, we've gone backwards down the league. So it's just, what's there to enjoy about this now? I just don't understand it. And anybody that turns around and says, well, they trust the process. The only process I see is a regression in the football in terms of how exciting it is to watch. The results are getting worse, and I don't see what the process is. So I like looking back at seasons where I enjoyed watching Arsenal, and I don't anymore, and it makes me sad actually, because I agree with you. Arsenal's been such a big part of all our lives for such a long time, and when we're not enjoying it, then that's a big part of your life, one big massive enjoyment of your life that's been taken away almost. That's what it feels like. And winning and losing is, winning's a bonus, isn't it? At the end of the day, what you want to do is you want to feel excited about the games coming up. You want to be excited to watch the team, whether you win or lose. Ultimately, that's what you want. And at the moment, we're not winning games, and we're not being excited, and we can't look forward to the next game because even we've got a few games coming up. We'll talk about in a minute, but it's like you can't get excited about them because the game. You know what the game's going to be like. They're going to be drab, especially at the Emirates. They're going to be a team that's going to have 10 men behind the ball. We'll struggle to break them down. We might scrape a 1-0, and everyone's like, "Oh, we won a game." It's like, well, no, I don't care. I want to see a 4-3 against Leicester, like in the first game of that season. I want to be beating teams like Watford and Norwich. I want to be beating them 5-0 and absolutely hammering teams, scoring loads of goals. And I don't care if we lose the next week against Everton. It doesn't really matter so much because you're going to get a good game in a week or two. Now we've got nothing to look forward to whatsoever other than more of the same absolute boring rubbish that we've put up with now for what feels like forever, but it's probably only 2 years in reality, or just over 2 years. The last spell of Unai Emery wasn't great either.
But this is the thing, you go back to your fundamental question of when, is it going to change and when's it going to change? But, the generation that you grew up in and you've watched Arsenal, a lot of that is becoming disenfranchised because of where the club's going.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got my lot that are late, I'm early 90s, 2000, but you've got my lot that are like late 80s. They're becoming, and so all you're going to have are these generation of fans now that have actually never seen us win a league. So they think finishing 4th, finishing 6th is what Arsenal do. And that's what you've got to convey is like we keep saying, this is not accepted. Like, dig out your dad's DVDs if he's got Arsene Wenger's Magic Hat, or if he's got 89, if he's got the 79 Cup final, if he's got the 71 Cup final, and watch them and learn. Learn all the history of it.
I mean, that is a great point because I love the history of Arsenal. I always have done, and it's massively important. The good and the bad. I don't just want to focus on winning things. That's great, but Arsenal's history isn't just about winning things. We've won trophies, but we've also had barren times and stuff like that as well. So, but for me, what's more important is just enjoying the football. I don't really care if we finish 6th or 7th in the league. If that's where we are, that's where we are. But at least go out to try and win games. You know, we last night we lost the game anyway. 1-0 up. We might as well have gone for it. Tried to win 3-0 and lost 3-2. But that'd have been a better game. With the results the same, but at least we've come away having enjoyed it a little bit and thought, well, you know what? At least we had a go. At least we played some football. At least we enjoyed the game.
But you're seeing people say that you need to. Oh, Arsenal fans need to learn to lose. Jog on. In the nicest possible way.
No,
jog on.
100%, yeah.
We're Arsenal Football Club. No, no, we don't need to learn to lose. We need to learn to win.
Well, no, but even so, no, I kind of agree. I don't think this. I think we know how to lose because we've lost plenty in recent years, especially, but in history as well. But it's more the way that we play that I look at. You know, I don't necessarily. We don't want to lose any game really, but if we're going to lose, at least lose with a little bit of class, a little bit of style, a little bit of excitement. Don't just roll over and you know lose tamely like we have done this last week in particular, but pretty much for the last 2 years. Most games that we've lost, we've just lost without even looking like we were going to salvage something from it. And that's not, for me, that's what I want to see change. You know, obviously we want to win more games and we want to be higher up the league and we want to be challenging for trophies. We want to be going to Liverpool and competing with them. But ultimately, I want to enjoy the football that I'm watching as well. I want to come away from a game thinking, you know what, your heart rate's up because you've enjoyed the game. You know, last night there was a last minute winner. Yeah, if you was an Everton fan, I'm sure you'd have loved it. But you know, there was a lot of late drama in that game. But you didn't come away. Your heart rate wasn't pumped up for the game, even though you'd lost, because it was just dull. And Man United game was dull. You know, the Newcastle game at home was dull. The Liverpool game was dull. When was the last time we played well, exciting football? When? I can't even remember. Probably under Arsene Wenger, or maybe Unai Emery's very, very early days. We played some exciting football for a while, didn't we? The Fulham game and Leicester at home and stuff. But that's what I want to see. You know, not every week. Just once in a while would be nice. Once a month, even once every 10 games, a really exciting performance where we just rip teams apart. You know, an open. When was the last time we had a 4-3? Do you know what I mean? They don't happen anymore, do they? We don't have games like that. And you know, I'd quite like to see one. I don't mind losing 4-3 rather than losing 2-1. You know what I mean? Why not lose 4-3 instead? Do something a bit different. I don't know. It's just that's where I am at the minute with it. I mean, Adako in the chat says Alexis works his socks off and more versatile. Yeah, exactly, 100%. And I think Russ, going back to your earlier comment, James, about the women saying it's because you have better hair than them. Yeah, that could be a reason as well.
That's very true. Yeah, I've had that before.
You've got to take that into account. They're a bit sensitive about their hair, aren't they? So that might be right there. Adako as well in the chat says, we used to beat Everton more than 4 goals under Wenger, home or away. Well, I remember beating them 7-0 once. Remember that? We beat Everton 7-0 at home.
That was Vermaelen, weren't it, as well? He scored.
Well, 6-1 away, yeah.
Yeah,
and he said,
first game of the season.
Yeah, first game of the season, yeah. And he says, I can't remember last time we beat them at Goodison. Actually, it was this 2017-2018 season. We won 5-2 at Goodison, actually, that season. That was the last time we won there. We scored 5 goals away from home in a game. We just ripped them to pieces in the second half. It was brilliant, actually. I was at that game. It was really good. But that's what I mean. That's the sort of game you want to get. You don't mind losing a couple of games if you know every so often you're going to get a great game like that. At the minute, it's just like, you know, every single game is going to be exactly the same. It's like watching chess, actually. In fact, I'd probably rather watch chess sometimes because that can be a bit more exciting. Empress 29 in chat said, very good show, Richard and guests. No, thank you very much again for tuning in. I'm glad you're enjoying the show. It's not the most upbeat show we've ever had, perhaps, but anyway, you know, what can you say? Adako says, I think Wenger had the perfect and complete team, but he just failed to get top centre back after Kieran Adams retired and unable to replace him. Yeah, that was a point. There wasn't the only one, but yeah, maybe only Koscielny. The rest were not good enough. Yeah, that was an issue later on, certainly, wasn't it? He didn't get the right defenders back in, and we did concede too many goals. Although we still kept scoring them at the other end, which was, I said, good to watch. But yeah, so obviously 17-18 season wasn't the greatest season in the club's history. We didn't win a trophy. We finished 6th. We got knocked out semi-final, but I kind of enjoyed some of the games that season. Lots of goals. I'm sure we scored something stupid like 70 goals at home in the season. I'm sure it was something like that. I mean, can you imagine that? We don't even score 70 goals in a whole season, home or away now. We scored 70 goals just at home. I mean, what a season to have a season to get in Emirates that was, you know, regardless of, you know, what we won and we didn't win. Over 70 goals we scored, the most ever in history of the club. And you think in history we've scored hundreds and hundreds of goals in seasons in the past, in the 1930s and stuff. We'd never scored more goals at home in a season than we did that season. What an incredible season that was for that reason alone. So, you know, and just looking at it just made me sad, really, actually, that we don't have football like that anymore. And it is quite sad, I think. And that's how I kind of feel with it now. And, it's not going to change anytime soon. And I suppose we just need to accept it and get used to it. And Russ points out there, Sol Campbell, obviously, Sol Campbell, he did. Obviously, he was a great defender, wasn't he? We maybe didn't replace him, perhaps, since he
Colo weren't bad either to start with.
No. Yeah, Colo, he wasn't even a defender to begin with, was he?
No.
He was sort of playing in midfield and moved back into defence. He was great as well. But that kind of invincible team was never replaced. You can never really replace half of them players anyway. It's impossible. But we maybe needed to replace them with better than we did. But the stadium move and everything else, and lots of things contributed to the downfall, I suppose, which has come. And it's right what you said earlier on, though, James. We're now it's going to be 18 years since we last won a league title, which is the longest ever spell in our history since we first won the league. We've never gone this long without winning a league title since our first title, since moving to Highbury, actually. So, it doesn't feel that long in a way for us that maybe experienced it all, but it will be 18. Obviously, we're not going to win it this year, so it's going to be 18 years at the end of this season, and there will be a whole generation of fans. I mean, one of my sons included, has never seen us. He was born actually in 2003, so at the start of that season, so he obviously doesn't remember it. So he's never seen us win the league. And you look at it now, it's like, will he ever? He's driving, he's working now and driving. You know what I mean? And he's never seen us win the league. It's amazing when you think about it. But
Well, here's a question for you. You say he's driving, right? At the moment, all I keep seeing after every game is, but this team's going to have bumps in the road. How many bumps in the road is your son going to be allowed before his license gets taken away?
Well, if he has a few too many. Well, nowadays, when you're a young driver, you go over the speed limit twice and they take your license away, don't
they?
There
you go. I'm like, this guy's having more car crashes than I can imagine, and he's still got his car.
Yeah, no, I'll be taking his car away. I'll be clamping it actually. I think. But yeah, I mean, you're right. Actually, what you said there, that's a good way of looking at it, I suppose, maybe. But yeah, it's been terrible. But anyway, we are where we are, and I suppose we are going to change it, unfortunately. So, we can obviously, we're not having a little look back, which is always nice, but also we need to look forward as well. We have got another game actually, sadly enough, at the weekend, which is going to be good. I suppose it's the Theo Walcott derby, really, isn't it? Arsenal against Southampton. I'm not sure if he'll be playing, but anyway, Southampton at home. On paper, it looks like a game that we got a good chance of winning, but we don't take anything for granted these days with this team, do we? I suppose. But Southampton have been quite solid defensively, I think, this season. Actually, they're a difficult team to break down. We know what they're going to do. They're going to get everyone behind the ball, and it's going to be one of them sort of games that we have so many of at home, in particular. Are we going to, first of all, Melvin, do you think Aubameyang is going to get back in the starting lineup? Did Arteta make his point last night? He didn't even bring him on when Martinelli got injured straight away. He brought him on very late in the game and then he missed a good chance. Do you think he's going to put him straight back in the starting team on Saturday, or do you think he's going to make a further point and say, no, I'm going to leave you out again? Obviously, Martinelli might be injured now, which might make an impact on the team lineup as well.
Well, first of all, it's like you're asking me about the Southampton game. It's like having a big meal when someone says, "What do you fancy to eat tonight?" No, I've had enough. I don't want anything. Can't think about the next meal.
Yeah,
a bit like that. I've had two bad meals of Man United and Everton, and someone's just asking me, "Waiter, what do you want?" I don't want anything, mate. I'm all right. Yeah. I'm sure I'll be hungry later on, but not at the moment. Right? Will he bring him back over? I don't even know. Honestly, I'm not even bothered if he brings him back or not. I think it's every game now is always going to be big for us because we haven't found our level, really, have we? I mean, why would he bring him back? I mean, that miss doesn't say, all right, he's back on full now. You've got to put him back. You know what I mean? I know he only come on for a few minutes, but he should have warmed up and seen, that shot he did was like no interest, wasn't it? Like
that was terrible. Yeah, honestly, that was disgraceful.
So I don't think it's that. And I don't think Arteta should really be in the situation of isolating himself from the players. He should do it for football reasons, not for anything else, because he's got very little fat left on his body. So, and like you said, James, he brought on Eddie before him, and what's that telling you? And he didn't bring on Pepe either, who people have got divided ideas about him. But those two players know now that the manager really has lost faith in both of them. And you're giving it to a guy that ain't going to be there in a couple of months. So it's like, wow, what are we doing? So I don't know if he's going to play or not. I don't care really. Honestly, I've got to a point I don't care who plays. It really, because you could pick 11 players and you think, well, are they actually going to do anything? There's obviously players I don't want to get in the squad. Obviously, there's well documented. I've been over the last couple of years. Players I still can't believe we've got the red shirt on, but he might make a couple of changes here and there. But who plays up front? Does it matter? They're not going to get the ball or look for the ball. So get on with it.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're probably right. Actually, Craig there in the chat says he probably sums it up there. We'll play terribly, sneak a 1-0 win. Ramsdale make a couple of saves, and I'll be overly positive before we get whopped by West Ham. Wouldn't change it for the world. Come on, you guys. Well, yeah, we wouldn't change it, but I would like to see a little bit better football, as I said. But you're probably right what you said there. Actually, that's pretty much summed it up. That's probably exactly what will happen if you look at a lot of Southampton games this season. That's generally how they've been, isn't it? It's been 1-0 or 0-0. We may well sneak it, and I think Ramsdale will probably make a few saves as he normally does. But yeah, this is a sort of game actually that for me couldn't really come at a worse time because it isn't a game to get you particularly excited anyway. Southampton at home generally isn't that sort of fixture, is it? And when we've just come off the two games that we've just come off, it's like, can we even be excited about this game in any way whatsoever? I don't think I can really. I mean, Adam, are you looking forward to it in any way at all? Are you going, by the way?
Yeah, I'm going. I'm actually taking my oldest on Saturday as well. So he's not been since before COVID. So I'm looking forward to taking him, I think. But yeah, I mean, I feel quite indifferent at the moment. I mean, I think when the day comes, I'll be fine. I'll be, looking forward to it and, get back in the old routine. But yeah, I can't say I'm really excited about it at the moment. I mean, like, we're talking about, should he bring Aubameyang back? No, he probably shouldn't. But will he? Probably will, I think. But I mean, if there's a moment that encapsulates Aubameyang this season, it was that last minute last night. He had a chance as the captain to kind of come on board and salvage the point, and he had no composure. Shot was awful. It's like, that for me sums it all up. And no, he shouldn't be in that starting lineup. And I think Arteta should stick with his guns a bit. And I think that start Lacazette again, maybe again, give him a little bit of a try. But again, I don't think Lacazette's the answer, but I don't know who is. Do you know what I mean? It's one of these things like if Martinelli, I would like to see Martinelli given a chance down the middle with Smith Rowe one side and Saka the other. That's what I'd like. If Martinelli's fit, I think that would be the front three that I'd like to see. And I think Odegaard's probably done enough to keep his spot as well. But I agree with, I think what Craig said. Like, I think we'll get a 1-0 scrappy win. I do. I really think it'll be like the games against Watford. We've seen games against Norwich this season. I think we need a win, and I think we'll probably do enough just to get it. So.
Yeah, I can see that being exactly how this game is. You could almost what we might as well do instead of watching the game against Southampton, just replay a DVD of the Watford game or the Norwich game because it'll be exactly the same and it'll probably be the same result. So we might as well just do that. At least we know what's happening. It's like when you see a film, isn't it? You watch a film a few times and you know what's going to happen, but you still watch it again, even though it's boring and you know the ending. But that's what it's going to be like. I think that's what it's going to be like on Saturday personally. But anyway, we'll see. I mean, James, are you looking forward to that? Are you going on Saturday as well? Yeah.
Potentially, yeah. I think I might be. But yeah, I'm worried. I don't like playing Southampton in December. The last couple of times it's gone wrong, and I mean, it all depends on. Whether we sound cliche, but whether we show up or not. I mean, last season, Gabriel got into it with Shea Adams, and he absolutely battered him. He made Gabriel look weak, and I mean, last night I've seen Gabriel this season win all of his battles and look perilous, but against Richarlison, he crumbled last night. He didn't want none of it last night with him. So he needs to bounce back for me, but. I just don't know. For me, I'm like, if you're making one or two chances a game, like we're saying, and someone needs to turn and smack it in, play Balogun, because I'm seeing all these compilations of him getting a little ball across, one touch, turn, finish. So just play him again to throw him out the door because he had a terrible game against Brentford. When, let's be honest, again, I keep saying it time and time again, Arsenal play the occasion and sometimes the badge instead of playing the 11 players they're up against. It was a Friday night with a depleted squad under the lights, first game of the season, and they crumbled it. But You know, that's not Balogun's fault.
No.
Loads of them had a terrible night that night. I don't think any of them really could come out apart from Smith Rowe with their head high that game. But
they bullied us, didn't they, James, that night? They bullied us.
Yes. And that could happen again at the weekend.
Yeah.
So it's totally, I mean, for me, I can see us drawing this one. And then for whatever reason, just like Brighton do against West Ham, we always seem to play really bad apart from that one a couple of years ago where I think we did them 3-0 or 3-1 at their gaff with Martinelli and Aubameyang scoring a screamer. We just seem to fluke it every time against West Ham. Like, I'm in Essex, so loads of them near me. And all the time they're like, you're so bad, but you always bloody bad. I'm like, we're your bogey team. I love it. And that'll be the case. Everyone keeps saying West Ham will batter us. We'll probably draw or lose this one, and then we'll go and get something out of West Ham because no matter how bad we play against them, we always seem to do it.
Can I just say, in all my time supporting the Arsenal, I've never played at our home ground, and West Ham have been the favourites. Yeah. And yet, and they are. I mean, in the neutrals' eyes, if you like, in most West Ham and Arsenal's eyes, if you like, they are favourites. They shouldn't have.
I agree that they probably are, and it is probably the first time ever that we've played them at home. And we did the last couple of years we've been quite fortunate to beat them actually at home. Because last year away we were 3-0 down, weren't we, against West Ham? I mean that game's obviously coming up next midweek, but I mean the Southampton game doesn't fill me with much excitement really at all. I've got to be honest. And obviously we'll all watch it, and I'm sure we'll all want us to win. But I don't think any of us are expecting to be, getting out of our seats too often and being excited by what we're seeing, unfortunately. And Dako says Arteta still not believing Balogun. We just mentioned that. He scored a lot of goals under 23 at the top of the league. It's a different level of football, to be fair. Difficult to judge how good he is in the Premier League.
I think that's why he's not bringing him up. I think the board and all that have gone, look, let us have the glory of he's potentially going to win him the league and potentially get him quite far in the Papa John's or whatever it's called trophy, and it makes Mertesacker and all them look good because they're like, look what we're doing with our academy. Our academy's so good. I think that's one of the reasons why he's not being brought up is that he's doing so well at that level that it's papers over the cracks of that.
Maybe. I mean, we'll see. I mean, he certainly wouldn't do any worse than the strikers that we've got currently. So I don't see any harm in putting him in and getting him on the bench, at least getting him minutes on the pitch would benefit him for the future of his career, wouldn't it? Because he's not going to benefit from his career playing against the kids. He's just walking through them like they're not there after time. He's not getting anything out of that at all, is he? Other than, as you said, he's making the team win games and possibly win the league. But it seems a bit of a waste of time. Well, what we need to do, I know Adam's got to go soon, so we'll have to quickly rush through our weekly predictions. So just quickly, obviously, the last 2 weeks we did them, and I've had the two scores together. I got 9 points in them 2 weeks. Melvin got 12 points, and Adam got 12 points as well. So that means I've currently got 76. Adam's got 81, and Melvin's still in front with 86. So Melvin is still leading the way with his predictions, which is great to see. So we need to do a bit
with Europe next year, Richard. I'll be happy with Europe.
Well, you might end up winning the Champions League at this rate, the way things are going. So Melvin is there to be caught. So the first game is Brentford against Watford this week. Melvin, what do you think in that one?
I fancy Brentford 2-0.
Brentford 2-0. Adam?
Here comes the me and Melvin copying each other again.
No.
I've got Brentford 2-0 too.
2-0 to Brentford. Okay. You're not going to catch him up if you put the same scores in him every week. You need
keep
to
doing it. Keep doing it.
Do you know what I mean? It's like,
to close that gap. James, what do you think that? James, what do you think of that? Your first time on Brentford against Watford. What are you going for?
I'm going to go 2-1 Brentford.
2-1 Brentford. Okay. Well, I've got something different, so I might pick up some points. So I've gone for a 1-1 draw. Brentford's bubbles burst for me a little bit. The next game is probably going to be slightly easier to predict the result of, maybe. Manchester City at home to Wolves. I'm not too sure. Melvin, what do you think, Man City Wolves?
The obvious one's 3-0 in it, the Man City.
3-0 to Man City. Okay.
That's standard.
Well, it seems to be pretty standard, yeah. Adam, what do you think of that one?
2-0 City.
2-0 City. Okay. James?
Yeah, 2-0 City.
2-0 City, okay. I've gone 2-0 City as well, but Wolves don't concede many goals, so it might only be 1-0 actually, because they're pretty solid at the back. And they've won at Man City in recent years as well, so we'll see. Obviously, the next game is our one, Arsenal at home to Southampton, the big game of the week, of course, the most exciting game with the most goals, possibly. Melvin, what are you thinking this one? What are you going for?
Have we ever scored 12 in the game before?
Not for a long time, no.
No, I'm going 1-0 Arsenal.
Yeah, that's probably about right. Adam?
as I mentioned earlier, 1-0.
1-0 to the Arsenal, a famous scoreline, of course. James?
Yeah, 1-0.
1-0.
1-0.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, 1-0. Yeah, I think they'll score first and we'll battle it back. And yeah,
a bit like last season's game.
Yeah, the old Polyfiller FC for another week.
Yeah, maybe 1-1. I'm going to go for a 2-1 to Arsenal. I think there maybe will be slightly more goals than we think. I don't think it'll be a great game, but anyway, I think we will win. Next one could be an interesting game. A fixture with a lot of history in years gone by. Chelsea at home to Leeds. Usually quite a lively game off the pitch. Maybe. What do you think, Melvin?
That's very. I mean, in the 70s, that was very lively. That
yeah,
game.
It was lively. Yeah,
on the pitch, it was horrible. 2-1. I fancy Leeds to score first.
2-1 to Chelsea. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay, Adam.
3-0 Chelsea. I think they'll do it comfortably. I think.
3-0.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I think Leeds obviously picks up, but I don't think they've got a lot of goals in them.
Bamford's back now, isn't he? So you never know. He did pick a goal up, didn't he, last week? So you never know, but we'll see. James, Chelsea leads.
Yeah, I'm going to go 2-1 Chelsea. I think Lukaku's back now as well, isn't he? So they should be a bit better up front now.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I went to a Chelsea Leeds game at Stamford Bridge in 1982, and literally it was literally just 90 minutes of fighting in the ground, actually, which was fun. Leeds won that game 2-0. It was in Division 2 in 1982. I'll never forget that. I was about 14, and it was quite an experience on the shed. My mate was a Chelsea fan, you see, so that was how I ended up there. And that was a good experience. I'm going to go 1-0 to Chelsea because I think they will win, but they're not scoring many goals. They're quite boring to watch, but I think they will win. Next one could be a good game. Steven Gerrard is back at Anfield. Aston Villa away at Liverpool, Melvin. What's this one going to do? They're doing well, Villa now, aren't they?
They are.
But
I'll tell you what, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go for broke here. 1-0. Against the grain.
1-0. 1-0, Gerrard's going to get a result at his old club. That'd be interesting, wouldn't it? What are you thinking, Adam?
I think it'll be tight, but I've gone 2-1 Liverpool.
2-1 Liverpool. Yeah, okay. James?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a good game. I'm going to go 3-2 Liverpool.
Oh, 3-2. He thinks that Gerrard will go for it a little bit.
Yeah, I think he'll slip as per, but yeah, it'll be 3-2.
Yeah, he'll probably slip up in the end. I mean, they've won 4-0 their last two games at home in the Premier League, of course, as in Southampton, so they're scoring a lot of goals. I've actually gone for 2-0 because I think Aston Villa will compete a lot better than what we did. But I think Liverpool will be too strong and win 2-0. The next game could be an interesting one as well. Norwich at home to Man United. Obviously, Man United new manager, Norwich new manager as well, picked up a little bit. What are you thinking for that one, Melvin?
1-3. Norwich 1, United 3.
Okay, 3-1 United. Right, yeah. Adam, do you think Norwich can pull off a sort of shock? I suppose it would be.
No, but I do think it'll be tight-ish. But I've gone 1-0 United.
1-0 United. I mean, you're the only one who's ever predicted a Norwich victory on this show, and you was right a couple of times as well, which was good. James, what are you thinking? Can Norwich beat Man United, do you think?
No, I think 1-0 Man U as well. Yeah, I think they're not at the level where they're going to completely smash teams yet, but yeah, they'll still win. Yeah,
I think Man U, and I've gone for 2-1. Just on an earlier game, Ryan says 3-1 to Liverpool. He said, I think a new manager bubble will burst. So Aston Villa have lost the game already, haven't they, under Gerrard? But yeah, they did lose to the City, didn't they? And he's gone 2-1 United, which is what I said actually in Norwich as well. Next game is going to be a good game. Brighton at home to Tottenham. Brighton doing pretty well. The draw specialist against Tottenham. The revival, is it under Conte? Are they still going to be as rubbish as normal, Melvin? What do you think?
2-0 Brighton.
2-0 to Brighton. We like that.
They ain't got a good record there, I don't think, Spurs.
No, they haven't got a good record anywhere, really. But yeah, that's probably not there either. Adam, what are you thinking? Brighton Spurs?
I really hope that Melvin's prediction is right, but I've gone 1-0.
Yeah, the draw specialists are Brighton, of course. They've drawn the last three, I think. James, what are you thinking this one?
Oh, I hate to copy, but yeah, 1-0. Yeah, I think it'll be a draw, yeah.
Yeah, and funnily enough, I've gone 1-0 as well. So three of us have gone 1-0 with that one. It's only Melvin that's got to trust Brighton to do us a favour and beat Tottenham, who have gone above us in the league, of course, which you don't want to talk about. Now, the next game's a clash of the Claret and Blues. Burnley at home to West Ham. Contrasting season for both teams, I suppose. Contrasting form. Melvin, what do you think? Are West Ham going to keep their run going?
I do. 2-1 to West Ham.
2-1 to West Ham. Okay. Adam?
Yeah, I think West Ham again, but 2-0.
2-0 to West Ham. James, do you got West Ham going to do it, do you think?
Yeah, again, copying 2-1 West Ham, yeah.
2-1 to West Ham. And I've gone 2-0 to West Ham as well. So we've all gone for a West Ham win there. Pretty predictable, I guess, when we look at the table. The next game, actually, I think could be difficult to call. Leicester at home to Newcastle. Just got their first win, Newcastle, last week. They've picked up a little bit under Eddie Howe. Leicester have been very, very inconsistent. Not that great at home. What are you thinking, Melvin? Can Newcastle win again? 2 in a row?
Yes, I'm going to go 2-0.
2-0 to Newcastle.
I want to get double points for this, for saying that. I'm sorry.
2-0 to Newcastle.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a brave prediction.
I don't care.
Well, you're top of the table,
You
so
only
you
live once, don't you? You know what I mean?
we should listen to Melvin a bit more because he gets them right more than we do. Adam, what are you thinking? Leicester Newcastle.
I also think Newcastle will score 2, but I think they'll concede 2 as well. So 2-2.
Desmond
now.
Indeed.
James, what are you thinking? Leicester Newcastle.
1-1.
1-1. Okay. Just to complete the kind of results, I've gone 2-1 to Leicester. I think they will just sneak this one. Ryan in the chat there went 2-0 to West Ham against Burnley, and he's gone 1-1 Leicester against Newcastle. So that's, yes, fair enough. Could well be. And the final game of the weekend is Patrick Vieira's Crystal Palace at home to Everton, who of course just beat us, their first win in quite a while. Crystal Palace are on a bit of a bad run actually recently, though they're playing quite well. What are you thinking, Melvin? Can Patrick Vieira get a victory? Show Arsenal how to beat Everton?
I hope so. One of the teams I want to do well with Palace. One of the teams I dislike, Everton. So I'm going for a 2-0 Palace win.
2-0 to Palace.
I'm praying for that one. Not just for the point.
Yeah, that'd be good. I quite like that as well. Adam, what are you thinking? Crystal Palace, Everton?
1-0.
1-0, okay.
Not very exciting.
No, probably not. But anyway, James, what are you thinking?
Yeah, exactly the same, 1-0.
Yeah, I mean, Palace were drawing a lot of games. That's been their problem. If they'd won half the games they'd drawn, they'd probably be up in the top 6 or 7 with us. But I think they will win, actually. I thought Everton were pretty poor last night, minus 1 or 2 players. So I think Crystal Palace will beat them. I think it'll be 2-1 to Crystal Palace. I think they'll get their first win for a while. So they are the games for this week then. Some good games in there, but not many games that you think is going to have a lot of goals in. We haven't predicted many goals, really, for most of them. So it might be one of them kind of weeks. Adam in the chat there says 2-1 to Palace as well. Yeah, let's hope so. We want Palace to win. We want Palace to do well because the better they do under Patrick Vieira, you never know where he might find himself at his next club. Who knows where he might be the manager of next? We never know. We can all hope, can't we? But he needs to do well at Crystal Palace first, of course. That's the main thing. So that's sort of that then really for tonight. I mean, we kind of, it wasn't the most positive show in the world, but what would you expect when we've just come off the 2 of the worst performances that we've produced for quite a long time, back to back, away from home. So, but yeah, we've got it off our chest a little bit, haven't we? I'm sure we all. Do you feel better now, Melvin, for your therapy session tonight?
Oh yeah, I feel over the moon, Brian. Yeah, I feel so good. Yeah. Maybe what I was feeling like before.
Yeah. And Adam, just before you go, where can people find you as well on social media?
You can find me Twitter at Adam792001, always Arsenal. Thanks very much. Got to run, gents. Pleasure as always.
Well, see you next week.
Speak to you soon, mate. Yeah, better week coming up. Let's hope so. Cheers, mate. Speak to you soon. And James as well, obviously your first time on. Thanks for coming on. Brilliant to everyone finally. Where can people find you? Because I know you're on a lot of other channels as well, aren't you?
Yeah, just at LLCoolJames91 on Twitter. And then the Purely Arsenal FP is the podcast that I'm on. And then just James Johnston Football's my own YouTube channel. But I haven't done anything for ages. I need to bring it back. I will eventually. I just get too tired, like we said, disillusioned.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Sometimes when the games don't go well, because it takes a lot of time, doesn't it, to do the shows and stuff like that.
Yeah, sometimes I just feel that I'm going to be too visceral and end up like ranty in it, and I'm like, I don't want to go down that route because that's not who I am. I try and be a bit more collective and give something to think about, but. Just laying the F's in all the time. I don't think it's it's not. To me, it's not good content.
No, I totally agree, and that's kind of the vibe of this channel. Really, I've tried to keep it like that. And I know it's difficult when things aren't going well, and it's easy. We all get upset and stuff when we lose games because we want to see Arsenal win and we want to see the best for the club. And unfortunately, that's not the case at the moment. And and I agree with what we said before. It's not wrong to criticise the players. It's not wrong to criticise the manager when it's justified. And at the moment, it is justified. And it's no good blindly saying, "Well, let's just support Arteta. Let's support Arteta." No, I'm not saying we should be having helicopters flying over the stadium with Arteta out, banners out the back, or anything like that, because that's just silly. But ultimately, if he's not doing what's required of him to do in the role, then we're right as fans of the club, because it means so much to us to voice that opinion. I don't think that's wrong to do that, And people say, we're reactionary when we win. You're all happy when you lose. You're not. But that's what being a football fan is all about, isn't it? It's the emotional. The emotional kind of ties that we've got to the club mean that happens, doesn't it? When we win a game, we're happy. Of course we are. And when we lose a game, we're down in the dumps, because that's what it does to you, unfortunately. And it's difficult to always keep that balance. But I was saying, even when we were going on them games unbeaten, that we were playing teams that I'd have expected us to have not lost to anyway. And we were just doing what the minimum that was required. Beating Watford 1-0 is the minimum requirement, isn't it? Beating Watford 5-0 is a statement to say we're a decent team. That's what Liverpool went and done to them. That's what Man City would do to them. Do you know what I mean? We were getting by on the bare minimum most of those games, and now it's caught up with us, and we've seen exactly where we are. And I feel hopefully now everyone's got a more true reflection of where this team is, where this manager is, and where we currently are. And if you're happy with that, anybody who's happy with that as an Arsenal fan, that's fair enough. I personally don't think it's good enough for this club, because we've got a great history, and as Arsenal fans, we shouldn't be expected to win trophies. We shouldn't be expecting anything from anybody. But ultimately, as Arsenal, being 8th, 9th, 10th in the league, playing boring football, I want more for my club than that. And if that's wrong, if I'm negative for doing that, and whatever it is, and that's fine. I'll take that criticism. But it's because I want more for Arsenal than what we've currently got. And if that means we've got to change the manager to get more, and we've got to change some of the players to get more, I don't care. I agree with, I don't know who said it earlier. I think it might have been Adam. Doesn't matter who the manager of the club is. You want to support them while they're there. You want to get the best that we can. But when we're not producing that, get somebody else in, and we'll go through the same process again. If we have to go through it, 10 times the next 10 years to get it right, that's what we might have to do. I just want better for the club overall. I want us to be in a position where we're challenging again. And it's a long process, and we can't keep changing managers every year, because we're never going to get anywhere probably. But ultimately, when it's not working, we've got a right to say it's not working without being called negative fans, this, that, and the other. I'd rather have higher standards for the club, what I expect from the club, what I want from the club, than to settle for what we're currently getting and expecting that that's okay, and saying that's okay. It's okay for us to keep losing games. It's okay for us to play like this. It's okay for us not to be doing anything. For me, it's not okay, because it's Arsenal and I want more. And I'm hoping everybody wants more, and if this manager and these players can't give us more, I won't care saying goodbye to any of them. I've got to be honest, I won't.
Yeah,
I won't miss them.
No, there's been, people the other day left some comments about some of the stuff that we said about Aubameyang on one of the podcasts we did, and when we recorded again, I said, look, I've seen much better players than this guy leave, so I can't believe all these people are kicking up a fuss.
No, exactly. And you can see where we are in the league. You can see where we've been the last 2 years. You can see, we're not scoring goals. We're creating hardly any chances. One of the lowest in the whole league. Chances created, goals scored. To me, that's not for Arsenal. I want better than that for my club, because I think we deserve better.
Yeah, I think the big thing for me at the moment is that, and obviously we've all got friends that support different clubs, but if you ask any of them, what do they really think of Arteta as a manager? They're going, "Oh, you got to keep him. He's becoming like Ollie was for Man United."
Exactly. I said this last night,
And that's
exactly what I said.
With all due respect, that's like what Wenger was as well at the end, what they were sharing.
Yes, yeah, but that's it. When that happens, game over for me. Yeah. Because again, like I said, I like the stats and I like the figures, but I also do the eye test. And I'm sorry, but the eye test is even telling me that, is it salvageable? Yes. Are we going to salvage it? No. I can tell you that now. It's not going to be salvaged. I mean, Emery's last league game was Southampton
at home.
I think. Yes. Yeah.
That was horrible.
He just got it over the line, didn't he? Yeah.
That was horrible.
Yeah, it was horrible. That was when Lacazette scored in the 99th minute to equalise, and nobody celebrated. None of the fans celebrated. The players didn't celebrate. It was like a dead goal, and it was an injury time equaliser. That's just how low the club were. That's almost how it feels now. And I'm sure if we did score a last minute equaliser against Southampton, I'm sure the crowd would react differently, and the players would this time. But even so, we're almost at that same point. I feel that we're almost exactly 2 years ago, just a little bit more than 2 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, fearing the worst, but if he loses this and then he loses against West Ham, I wouldn't give him Leeds and Sunderland. I don't care how far he's got us in that competition. And I'm sorry, it's a no from me.
I mean, I actually think if we lost to Southampton and West Ham, I don't think he can survive that. I think that'll be it. I don't think
I'd like to think so. I don't
think it'll happen, Richard. I think you're wrong. They stick with him the whole way through.
Even if we lose the next 2 games, do you think they'll stick with him?
Yeah, they'll still stick with him. No doubt about it. They're not that type of management. We haven't got that type of owner or directors.
Yeah. But they got rid of Emery, didn't they? They got rid of Emery without really things being as bad as this for as long. Yeah, it was bad for a short period of time.
They never invested as much into Emery.
No,
they never invested.
That's the thing, Melvin. You got people that are going, okay, are you going to buy the midfielder and the striker in January that potentially gets you into the top 4, or are you going to spend that money on a manager that might get you into the top 4?
I'd spend it on the manager.
Yeah, oh yeah, so would I. Yeah. I mean, for me, if you get the right manager, okay, I think if you win the League Cup, you only get in the conference. But for me, the winning breeds winning. So if we won that gives them a little bit of a lift, especially with a new manager coming in. That new manager, a bit like what they had a little tiny lift when Arteta won them the FA Cup. It was just like, right, look, now you've got something tangible in your hands, and we've done this as a collective together. The new guy, whoever it could be that would come in, like hypotheticals, I know, but if he won them something, he goes to them now, look, we've done this. Look what else that we can do. And you never know, it might get you that little push to, I mean, I've lowered my expectations to only finishing top 6 anyway.
Yeah, mate.
But I'm like, any manager in world football, because all the time, who would want to come here? All of them. Because all they've got to do is finish top 6. They ain't got to win us the league. You've only got to get top 6 or top 4. Any of them would take it.
The way I look at it is, right, this time last year, Chelsea were struggling like we were, right, with Frank Lampard. And what they did was, yes, I'm not saying that they had a much better squad than we've got, so I'm not going to compare the difference. But what I'm saying is Chelsea was struggling this time last year. They got in a proper manager who knew what he was doing. And with the same group of players, he won them, got to the FA Cup final, won them the Champions League, got them in the Champions League, in the league top 4 as well. And now they were top of the league until this weekend. So, you can have a manager coming. Who's he bought? He's bought Lukaku. That's it. He hasn't bought anybody else. He's not like spent loads of money, has he? Yeah, they had a good squad already. But it just goes to show that our one manager can get very little out of a group of players. Another manager come in and get a lot more out of those same players. And if we got a manager in now that could get more out of this group of players, you'll almost guarantee that we can finish top 5 or top 4, because there's a place in the top 4 for somebody. Nobody's consistent enough to maintain that run. West Ham at the moment are doing really well. I think the Europa League after Christmas may eat into their squad a little bit. They've already started to get a few injuries now. So I think there's a place in the top 4. If we can get a manager in before Christmas who can get more out of this group of players, buy 1 or 2 players, get 1 or 2 in January, we'll have a great chance of finishing top 4 with this same group of players, because they'll be lifted and they'll give more, because that's what happens. If we've got to get the right manager like Chelsea did, if we were to get a manager of that kind of level who was able to do that, we could go from being very, very average to being a not bad team. We've got some good players, get the most out of what you've got.
And the new manager would go like, okay, I totally understand that you're probably not going to give me everything in the January, but I want equivalent of what you gave him in the summer. And I think the Cronkies would go, yeah, all right, man. Forever inept they are, they would have to. If you got the top guy in, and like I said, he won you a pot and he also got you into Europe, he could go, well, I'm better than the guy that you just had before me anyway.
Well, What's the manager going to cost you, James? 10 million a year? That's nothing in the big scheme of things.
Yeah. I mean,
if you're in Europe, you get that back anyway. If you're in Europe, Champions League, you get that back.
Yeah, but you're paying bloody footballers who are on the bench.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a bit gutted the international play I've signed on now, because, I hate the guy, but And I mean, it's bad for me saying it because I've got Italian heritage on my father's side, but I'm praying Ronaldo absolutely batters them so we get Mancini. That's what I hope that Italy don't qualify for Qatar and we get Mancini in.
Yeah, I mean, he'd be a good manager. He's won the Premier League. He knows what it's about.
For me, it's him or Ten Hag. I mean, Ten Hag's my number one, but because if you go in Project Youth, the average age last night, I believe, was 24.7. He got a team that was 23.5 to the semi-finals of a Champions League and was very close, but
should have won it
up the road. But he was very unlucky. So if you're going to go the whole youth thing, he's your man. That's your guy. He's got the proven track record for it. So
well, you've got to remember that Ajax have got a fantastic youth system. They're their model.
Well, they're the best in the world. I think every other club.
Why don't we copy them?
Yeah,
why don't we copy their model?
Yeah, and get their director in as well.
People always exactly the director that's what we want. Yeah, exactly. That would be a big change, wouldn't it? I mean, people always say when you say, "Oh, get rid of Arteta." Well, who could we get? Who could we get? We could get anybody. We're Arsenal.
Yes.
We can get anybody. We're one of the biggest clubs in the world still, the biggest name in the world. We could attract any manager with the right things in place. Any manager would come to Arsenal, any manager.
Yeah.
And you just mentioned, two names there that we could realistically possibly get. They're not out of the realms of possibility, are they? Either of those two. Realistically, we could, if we really wanted them, we could get them. And there's plenty of other names as well. Top managers. Any
manager with a small, ounce of brain to it, advanced brain to him compared to what Arteta has, would, like we said earlier, okay, the expectations aren't what we want for Arsenal, but at the moment it is 6th or 4th. And any top tier manager will go, I could do that with this lot. I don't even have to really. In January, I can get, I don't know, you could get a striker that would only cost me 12 or 15 million instead of a 50 million man, but I can get the other players, make the chances for that person.
Exactly, yeah. You could get more out of what we've got, exactly. And that's always been my thing with it. You've got to get the most out of what you've got. Arteta's failed to do that now for 3 different teams almost. The team he got, given one he kind of almost started to build, and now this one, and he's still not managed to get the best out of them. Someone else would come in, and I'll be convinced that with this squad, even without anybody coming in January, with this squad, a better manager could get this team into the top 4 this season because of how inconsistent everybody else is.
100%.
And how do you judge a good manager, Richard? The great managers get the best out of their players.
Exactly. Of course they do. You don't need to have, everyone says Pep's a good manager, and he probably is, but ultimately he's always had it easy because he's been able to buy the best players. But the best managers are often managers that get the best out of what they've got. Graham Potter, for example, gets the best out of that Brighton team. They've not got the biggest budget, they haven't got the best players, but that he's got the best out of them. To me, that's a great manager. He did the same when he was in Sweden with that team that we played in the Europa.
Yeah, Östersunds.
Yeah. So they're great managers, but people like that, it don't have to be. You don't have to be a Klopp or a Pep to be a good manager. They're great managers as well, but you don't have to be at a club like that. You can be at a smaller club, be a great manager, come into a club like Arsenal with all the resources that we've got, the squad that we've got, and improve everybody straight away. And there's plenty of managers we could get after managing the Premier League. Will do a better job than Arteta at the moment with this group of players, I believe.
He is. You've said it before, probably, Richard. He's probably one of the luckiest managers out there.
Yeah.
No other club would have stood for it.
No. Oh, 100%. Absolutely not. Not a big club with proper ambitions to be a big club. Definitely not. Craig has got a comment there about Emery. He says Emery committed war crimes and should be should be sent to the Hague for the end of the 2018 season with his team selections and tactics versus Palace, Brighton, and Chelsea. Unforgivable. Yeah, that was shocking. Actually, I think we all kind of want to forget about.
Yeah, it was all the teams that were like animal related, weren't it? It was Wolves, and then it was the Eagles, and then it was I can't remember who the other one was. Yeah,
Seagulls, Brighton.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. Seagulls. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was all that. Yeah, but anyway, that was best forgotten. And Dako there says, these top clubs like Man City, Liverpool, Man United, Chelsea, and Spurs already have top managers to work on and improve the team.
Don't put that one on the end in it. They're not a top club. They're not one.
No, they're not a top club. But they do have a top manager. Let's be fair.
Yes.
Conte is a very good manager. So we've got to give them that. And Dako says, Tuchel is the perfect example how by getting a proper manager can transform a team to its best immediately. Exactly. Yeah, we just said that. And not like Arteta already. Past 2 years and nothing is happening except spending. Exactly. We spent the most and getting nowhere because we've got the wrong manager, and I think that's obvious now. And I don't think I kind of agree with Melvin. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get rid of him. Although I do think if we lose the next 2 games, then that might be the push that they're given. If we lose them both, Not necessarily if we don't win them both. If we lose them both, I do think that's 4 defeats in a row. And at this point in the season, I do feel that has to be it for me if that happens. But hopefully we won't lose both games. I don't want us to lose both games, and I'm sure we probably won't. But we'll see what happens on Saturday. Because if we do lose to Southampton, that West Ham game suddenly becomes absolutely massive, doesn't it? I mean, it's big enough anyway as it is, but it'll become even bigger, wouldn't it, if we've lost to Southampton? So let's hope that doesn't happen. But yeah, I feel that would be the end. But let's see what happens. I mean, let's hope. I mean, I say that. I'm not sure if I do hope that we turn this form around, because it's just going to drag it on. Arteta's not the right man. We know this now. And if we win 3 or 4 games over Christmas, that's not going to change. We just went 10 games unbeaten. It hasn't changed. You know, we might beat Norwich on Boxing Day. That's not going to change anything. We might beat Southampton. That's not going to change anything. Ultimately, this is just going to drag on longer, like with the Ollie situation. We need to act now. Act like a big club. Act like an ambitious club that wants to compete and be taken seriously. The way we do that is we get rid of an inexperienced manager, say, sorry, you've done your best. Thanks for trying. It's not worked out. Let's get someone in. You've already given 2 examples there. There's others as well, 3 or 4 other managers you could name off the top of your head. That would be able to improve what we've got. And that's all we can hope. I agree. The ambition of the club isn't to win the Premier League. The ambition of the club is to get top 4 or top 6. And when any manager worth their salts could do that with this squad, I think, as things stand, where we are at the moment in the league in terms of points, how far away we are with the squad that we've got, how everybody else is dropping points. This is the time to act for me. Do it now, before January. Let's get it done. Don't care what the next 10 results are. I don't care if we win our next 10 games. We've still got to do it. Well, we won't win the next 10 games, so we've got Man City to play over Christmas. So we won't beat them, let's be honest. But, you know, we can win all the other games. It makes no difference to me. We're not going anywhere as a club under this manager, and it needs to change. But I'm not sure if it will. And that's the sad thing. We're going to tread water for a bit longer, I think. But anyway, thanks to you guys for coming on. James, brilliant for your first time on. You have to come back.
I appreciate it. Yeah, no, I will do. No, thank you. I always enjoy watching as well. You always have, you know, Melvin and Ryan and all the rest of it. You know, everyone else you have on is always good to listen to. So, you know, it's good. It's good times. No,
it's great to have you on. And Melvin, of course, as always, good to have you back. I know you've been missing a few weeks lately with bits and pieces going on, but hopefully you can be back regular again every week.
I enjoyed it again. I mean, enjoyed it as much as I possibly could under these circumstances, but it's nice to get it off your chest and nice to speak to the boys. It's great to put our views across to you. That's lovely and hear them. It's brilliant.
Thanks it is great. And obviously Adam as well, who's obviously had to shoot off a little bit earlier as well, as always as well. Great to have him on. And Craig in the chat there says, when success comes, it will taste that much sweeter. Yeah, I guess it will, like it did in the late 80s when we finally got some success. He said, you can't have a rainbow without the rain. And you know what philosopher said that? Dolly Parton. You've been watching The Office, you have, Craig.
Yeah. I won't say a bit after.
In the house.
I won't say a bit after, but yeah, that's one of my favourite bits of The Office.
Yeah, it is good. It is good. Yeah. David Brent has turned up in the chat as well, which is nice. So yeah, thanks everyone for watching. Don't forget, give it a like before you leave as well, and do subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Loads coming up actually. I've got watch along of the Arsenal women against Barcelona on Thursday. That's a 7 o'clock kickoff, so I'll go live about 6:45 for that one. Friday's the Arsenal women's show. We'll look back on the cup final from Sunday. Very disappointing that was. Not great at all. And obviously the Barcelona game, which probably isn't going to be a lot better if we're honest about it. So that'll be on Friday at 7:30. Then Saturday, the watch along Southampton game. Hopefully it might be a bit more exciting than we're anticipating. And then Sunday evening, 6:45 kickoff. It's the Arsenal women against Leicester, bottom of the league. So maybe we might win that game. Be nice to finally see an Arsenal win after what seems like ages. So loads coming up on the channel. So if you haven't done so, please subscribe. And we'll be back with the Tuesday clinic again next Tuesday. And Udako says there, Craig, I already have too much salt in my mouth to taste any sweeter. Well, we'll leave on that note probably. So yeah, thanks everyone for joining us. So don't forget to like and subscribe. James, Melvin, and of course Adam as well. It's been a pleasure as always. Look forward to the next one. I'll see you Thursday for the Arsenal women. In the meantime, of course, as always, come on, you Gunners. We need to get better. We're going to enjoy it this weekend, aren't we? It's going to be a better week. Definitely going to be a better week. We know it. See you later, guys. Take it easy.
Thank you. Cheers.